Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of A Candle or the Night, a Star Wars actual play podcast. We left our heroes last time. They were just leaving the Battle of Spinax, and tonight we will follow them on their adventures to Nar Shaddaa. Before we do that, I just wanted to give a shout out to our website. You can check out, of course, our character backstories and previous episodes on www.candleorthenight.com. If you are enjoying the show and you would like to become a patron or sponsor our efforts on the show, you can find us on patreon.com/COTN_show. That is COTN_show. And finally, we love to hear from our listeners. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, email us at feedback@candleorthenight.com. So with that, I will get us on into the episode. This is episode 26. We are live. Okay, so how about we go ahead and start session 26, actually. Why don't we go ahead and start with rolling our destiny pool.
Right on the wagon.
Yay!
Go, Jensa, our only light side points.
Hey, I have to be a contrarian.
Jeez.
I'm usually the only one that rolls dark side.
Come on, Leto. Bring us back.
Leto. Oops.
Fail. Fuck you.
Never trust a dwarf to do a Wookiee's job.
All right.
The family.
Or never trust Nev to roll well.
I've only rolled light side points like twice.
All right, so
This doesn't bode well, because when I actually start using my force powers, there's going to be problems. I'm going to be angry Wookiee.
He's not already.
So we'll get going. Let's start up with mentioning our website, www.candleorthenight.com, and feel free to email us with questions or comments at feedback@candleorthenight.com. Okay, so session 25. Our heroes convened in the medical bay to check on their fallen comrade, Jensa. While suspended in the Bacta tank, Jensa had a strange vision. Suddenly, a wave of force energy so potent that Bior even felt it somewhere on the ship surged forth. Master Nguyen awoke from his coma. Bior and the chief surgeon helped to revive him. Unable to speak, Tyrus reaches out with the Force to sense Master Nguyen's thoughts, and he's surprised to find his prevailing thoughts are those of pride towards Jensa. Clearly, he is somehow able to sense something about her connection to the Force. And when he is able to speak, he reveals that he is aware Jensa has taken a significant step in her journey with the light side of the Force. He shares that his brush with death has emboldened him with a renewed sense of purpose. He asks Jensa if she will consider becoming his Padawan, and she accepted. Kip was summoned to main engineering to meet Chief Engineer Moros, a Nautolan who is in charge of the Alliance Corps of Engineers. He presented Kip with classified military schematic, both as a reward and a test. Kip used this schematic to construct a helpful weapon attachment. He also invited Kip to take contract work with the Corps of Engineers if he's interested in furthering his engineering skills and seeking a purpose, not to mention money. Leto surreptitiously gathered information about his new companions to better understand where they came from and what their motivations were. They clearly have gifts with the Force that seem to stimulate his impaired memories of his past and the Jedi, and whet his proverbial appetite to better explore these issues from his past. Bayor took time to consult with Master Nguyen's holocron to learn more about the lore of Sirocco. He discovered the Ember of Aranth is an ancient artifact that predates the Jedi Order. Master Nguyen feels access to the Jedi archives might shed more light on what some had thought before was only a legend. Since the party is heading to Hutt Space, he suggests cautiously looking up a mysterious Black Sun Syndicate leader named Dan Duquesne, who is noted to be a powerful criminal warlord as well as a person who has a personal passion for Jedi and Sith antiquities. Rumor has it that Mr. Duquesne himself may have formerly been a failed Padawan. Bayor is hesitant but curious. The party as well as the crew of the ship are summoned to a general military assembly where the now reinstated Colonel Straith sets aside a position of honor for our heroes. Jensa, alarmed at being singled out in a very public ceremony, flees to her ship to avoid the situation. The colonel commends the party and issues each of them the Mantuine Medallion of Bravery, a distinguished award for valor in the face of enemy forces. And he also presents an official letter of marque, enabling the party to act as privateers for the Alliance, giving them an avenue for financial reward for disrupting the Imperial war effort, but still retaining their independence from the military structure. The party then reconvenes on the ship and prepares for their journey to Nar Shaddaa. Master Nguyen decides to remain behind and recover, asking Jensa to return to him after Hutt Space to continue her training as a Padawan. As the party then jumps to hyperspace to parts unknown, they are about to enter the Viper's Nest of glitz, glamour, crime, and intrigue, following their only lead to apprehend Crate and Dr. Bendix. And this brings us to the beginning of this episode. You lady and gents are aboard your ship, the Errant Seeker, and you are currently in hyperspace en route to Nar Shaddaa, having a good 6 hours of downtime or so left on the jump. I will open it up to what you guys would like to do.
With ship time?
You have ship time. Yes.
I'm going to ask our holocron to explain to us the dangers of the dark side, and I'm going to broadcast that crap over the ship like freaking NPR. Because we're all new to this, and I, at least in childhood, was taught to be afraid of the dark side for a reason and learn about it, and that's probably important for all of us to have a basic handle on. So yeah, I'm gonna do that up front.
So as you access the holocron, what are you going to ask Master Nguyen, whose holographic image appears before you, eager to help?
Master Nguyen, I was wondering if you could explain to us the differences between the light and dark side of the Force and the dangers of the dark side.
Well, that's a mouthful, certainly, to dole out, but let me ask you this. Tell me what your understanding of the Force is in this particular moment, Jensa.
Sorry, repeat that?
Tell me what you understand the Force to be in general.
It's a presence that prevails throughout the universe and is in and a part of all living things. It's neither good nor bad, but it has elements of both. And some of us are more susceptible to its pull than others.
That is very good, Jensa. You are correct. It is neither good nor evil inherently unto itself, but exists as a duality, a balance. You will find that many people new in the Force and in their training of the Force sometimes find it easier to connect with the dark side. Mostly because it is often fueled by strong emotions, rage, fear, jealousy, anger, very human emotions, things that we all naturally feel and understand. And sometimes when we're reaching out for mysteries that our minds can't fully grasp, it is easier to fall back on our emotional responses. And when you first discover that there can be power behind those very visceral emotional responses, it is seductive.
I've always kind of felt like that was kind of like falling into the orbit of a sun. There's a lot of power there, and it can be tempting because it's bright and beautiful to grab, but the closer you get to it, the more you get pulled in, and before you know it, there's no walking back out. Would that be an antonym?
I think that is very accurate. I would also say that the way you pull forth your power is very different when you touch the dark or light side of the Force. And whereas you may channel your fear or rage or excitement in a moment and find power behind it, when you become a master of the light side, you understand that it's almost exactly the opposite. You purge your mind of all feelings and thoughts. You empty your vessel, so to speak, and you stay in a state of serenity and balance. And only in that point can you start to feel what at first is maybe a less dramatic source of power, but almost extremely deep and powerful, like the base of a mountain or the sort of flow of an ocean. It comes quietly and builds strongly later. And so most young apprentices have difficulty contacting it in the first place, and upon frustration, maybe don't learn the techniques to do so. Has there been a time in recent history, Jensa, that you have found it easier to channel your emotions in a moment of danger?
Reminder to the crowd, I am totally broadcasting this crap all over the ship. You can probably turn off any speaker near you if you don't want to hear it, but Jensa thinks it's worth having a conversation about it in a passive-aggressive way.
L3 is recording everything for future documentation.
For his memoirs. And
I have had moments where I think I have felt that the need to succeed is so great that I have maybe pulled on fear or anxiety, maybe is a good word. Stress.
And when you did pull on the fear and anxiety, power came out of it, did it not?
Yes, but I don't like how it made me feel.
Was it rushing and violent and uncontrollable in a way?
Yes, I think that would be apt. So basically what you're saying is feeding into the dark side is a easy way to get to a lot of power, but if you work hard to stay focused and control yourself, you get better utility out of your power in the long run, and you don't turn into that crazy guy from the base we were just at.
True. And let me paint it another way. When you focus on drawing power when you need it, when you're focused always on yourself and the needs of yourself, you often can only understand the thoughts and needs of yourself as a result. So most people who are adept in the dark side are people more obsessed with personal empowerment, gathering of wealth or riches or political power. They're very self-focused individuals. Oftentimes, masters of the light side of the Force spend more time and thought on the greater good of others, on selflessness. And in so doing, they draw a different kind of power, and they feel more of a communal awareness of the Force, of the cosmic Force and the living Force, which are two different halves of what the Force really is. You'll come to understand it better in time, but my beginning advice to you is at times when you begin to feel rushes of strong emotions, practice quieting yourself. Practice recognizing that moment and pausing your feelings. Don't let them control you. And in emptying your mind, you might suddenly feel the contact of a quieter, deeper power. Something different than you've experienced before.
Thank you.
Of course, I am always here for you.
What are the dangers of pulling on the dark side? Because like I was a child when I received the limited training I did get. What are the consequences of letting yourself fall to the dark side? Because that is something I do remember hearing about.
Well, in general, the more you touch the dark side of the Force and feel the fruits of its power, the more seductive it becomes to you. And it changes you in time, warps your thinking, can even warp your physical appearance to others. I might say it perverses the mind to a degree as well. When you're early in training,
you make it sound like it's almost like a drug.
Well, you could think of it that way. Power is a drug. If a human or any other sentient alien is suddenly able to do superhuman things of exceptional power and reach that easily, it can be very seductive. As a general rule, if you're applying your power out of anger, violence, or a desire to subjugate others, you can bet fairly that you're squarely in the camp of focusing on the dark side. If you're practicing defense or kindness or compassion or giving to others, oftentimes you can feel assured that you're touching the light side of the Force. You'll recognize it in time. But the most important thing in the beginning is to recognize the moments when your passions are getting the better of you and learn to quiet yourself. It will help you innumerably.
Thank you. How much time do we have?
I would say at least another 8 hours, probably.
I'm not sure if the holocron understands Shuri-book, but over the intercom you hear Ishwar ask the dangers of using the light side of the Force.
You can tell the holocron clearly does understand Shuri-book because Master Nguyen's holographic image addresses you nearly immediately. An interesting question, Ishwar. I can't say I would identify any dangers of using the light side of the Force other than perhaps allowing it to create arrogance, for lack of a better word. As I said, dark or light side, there can be danger in any sentient being wielding too much power, but sometimes I think, and again, this gets into my personal opinion of the Jedi Order, having been part of it and having been at odds with them numerous times, I think there was a tremendous amount of arrogance on the light side of the Force, to the point of willful blindness. I think that's less a danger of the light side and more a danger of the Force itself. One cannot underestimate the power of skill. It does not always have to be of the Force.
Well, if we're on cruise control, what I would like to do is get some meditation in, and if Bayer, I guess I'll extend to Kip too, and Tyrus, if Bayer wants to meditate while we've got some downtime, if we've already rested, I would totally be up for that after that conversation.
Yeah, does Kip have anything to say about all of that, considering his recent...
Kip, when he heard all of that, is reflecting on what Jagasan used to say in some of his more lucid parts of his rants. And he would often talk about sometimes you need to be the river and feel the power of the river, and sometimes you need to be the banks of the river and guide that power. And he understood the holocron of basically saying you always need to be the banks of the river. And Kip's not sure that's true.
Regardless, Jenita's definitely going to say, anybody want to meditate while we have some time?
Mistress Jensa, I find working as meditation can I take a look at your jacket, please? I would
Yeah,
like
sure, I'll
to
bring it right
study
here,
it.
Cap.
Where's top is? Thank you.
Tyrus's experiences have confused him.
Oh, I do want to talk to Tyrus.
So I head immediately to Jensa, hoping that meditation can still some of the turbulence in his mind.
Hey, Leto, as I see Tyrus coming up, I'm going to look to Leto. Hey, Leto, could you do me a favor?
What is it?
Could you run my jacket over to Kip?
Most certainly.
Come here, Protocol Joy. Red Aaron's
Space ballet. No one told me there was a space ballet.
Okay.
Who made him the ship butler?
Let's
My
just
boots
go
are
ahead.
stuffed.
Go ahead and have this out. It's all we're all very liberal, PC kind of open-minded people in real life, but we live in a world where these are freaking toasters that talk, and none of us have probably had experience where they're used for anything else. So, I mean, Luke Skywalker liked R2-D2 and liked C3PO, but they were still robots, you know?
Fair enough.
There's just nothing wrong with it.
L3 is taking no
I
insult.
have no idea about robot sentience except for the malfunctioning murder bot, which doesn't exactly, you know. I don't realize how.
Are you referring to Crate?
Yes, I don't know how eccentric Leto is.
His Instagram profile says malfunctioning murder bot.
Murder bot.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Who likes to take long walks on the beach.
Likes to slowly exsanguinate people on the beach.
Yeah.
Poison
Turn-ons,
his-
crushing
poison
people's
his
heads.
friends,
Turn-offs, people with no heads.
monologuing. He's a monologuer.
Oh, he's a
anyway,
miserable
when-
monologuer. That is true.
Yeah, when Tyrus comes up. Hey,
Mistress Jensa.
why am I a mistress now? You're talking like Pip.
I'm saying it with a raised eyebrow. I'm
Oh,
being
the being
vaguely
yourself.
ironic in a distracted way.
How are you?
I'm not sure that I understand the last 48 hours.
I kind of wanted to talk to you because you seemed pretty upset when I came out of the tank, but I was concentrating on remembering how to breathe in that particular moment.
A wise choice.
Do you want to talk?
My entire upbringing, in fact, the very purpose of my world, is self-advancement. And now I am being shown, both in deed and in thought, that self-advancement leads down a dark and destructive path from which there may be no return, and yet redemption seems possible.
I know, we're probably not the company you would have chosen to take up with, and I can't say that I would have necessarily picked all of you as my friends, but I do feel that since we all crash landed on that horrible dumpster of moon, that we have become friends. And I know I am not the most open person in the world, but I want to try to be better.
I'm the last in my bloodline, to the best of my knowledge. I fled my world and have no true hope of ever returning, and now I realize I have no interest in returning. The people on this ship are the closest thing to a family I've ever really had.
I mean, have you thought about what you want? I mean, we've kind of been going full throttle one thing to the next. Have you had time to really think about what you want to do with your life? I mean, it kind of seems like, Tyrus, that you were groomed for a certain role in society, and you kind of followed a path that was already laid out for you, and when it became obvious that that was not the right path for you, your whole world fell apart, and I don't feel like you've maybe had time to take a breath.
Actually, I don't think I've ever been more purposeful or happy in my entire existence. We can't see beyond the bend in the road. We can't see what spheres have been set in motion, but clearly we're part of a greater whole, and all will be revealed in time.
I do feel that the Force pulled us together. You, me, Bayer, and Victor for sure. We all shared a vision. We shared the horrible, horrible death of a very, very good person, and we lived it through her eyes for months before we found each other. And when we found each other, it stopped, and that happened for a reason.
So the work begins.
I think so. I think we're all very different, but I think that's good. I think different opinions matter. And I don't know what the Force or the universe has in store for us, but I would like to maybe try to stop being such a selfish asshole and try to do the right thing more. And help people like us.
If we have any hope of surviving, both personally and our kind, that's our only choice.
Yeah. Let's meditate.
Oh.
I'm gonna put Mina back to bed, who's crawled under the table and is holding onto my foot. So.
Okay.
I'll be right.
Same thing with Jimmy.
So, Kip, what are you up to right now?
Kip he has his heavy clothing laid out on the floor. He's in his skivvies because he also has his Remus armor laid out on the floor, and he's searching the the holonet for armorer forums. He's looking for people, what others have done when they've created armored clothing. He's thinking about the difference between like the ceramic or other types of plates woven in. Are we talking about weaves of fiber? He's trying to figure out like what's the best way going forward. And he's waiting for that jacket because he wants to study it.
So, as the jacket comes to you, and you spend time researching everything that you can find on the HoloNet related to the construction of armored clothing, I'm going to have you actually make a knowledge check. You'll have a couple options because arguably they could each be appropriate in their own way. I would allow knowledge education or knowledge warfare. And maybe even... Oh, I'll leave it at those two. Those make the most sense. You could make a check with either of those that you would choose and see as Kip kind of relying on. And in this case, because you are researching what would be a fairly extremely common design of clothing, it would just be... in general, by the way, when you're going to research a schematic to craft something... it's going to be a lot harder difficulty than if you just had the schematic and sort of built it.
Sure.
In this case, though, given that it's an easier target product, I just want you to make a hard knowledge check of those two choices, either one.
Because I'm looking to invent my thing, because I'm making an amalgam, do I get to use any ranks of inventor?
You get to use it when you're actually building the... item, which is going to be a separate mechanics check when you get that.
Okay, so this is just the research. Okay.
This is just your research and your mental acuity and intelligence and trying to find the information to put a plan together to make this.
So just make sure a hard is 3 purple dice, right?
Just 3 purple dice.
Is there anything L3 can do to assist?
Right. Yes, he's going to ask L3 since he's there.
L3
he is an analyst and an expert in warfare.
Yes. depending on which knowledge are you choosing, by the way?
Well, I was going to use education,
Okay.
but now that he's there, L3, he says, L3, you are an analyst droid, not protocol. Is that correct?
Well, I can act as a protocol droid. That is correct. I am mainly an analyst.
So you have access to information about different forms of armor. Is that correct?
Yes, in a speculative way, and some concrete facts as well.
So, I am looking to build. I'm looking to create armored clothing for Bior and Tyrus with a hidden pocket. And I'm looking for the best way to do this. I understand there are a number of different ways, and I was wondering if you could help me make to sort of synthesize all this information. I have heavy clothing right here that we can study, that I've studied already. We have this Remus armor, which has a very nice weave that allows it to soak quite a bit of damage. Now I'm looking for the best way. And then we have this Jensa's jacket, which also provides protection that is part of what looks to be a weave. I'm wondering if you can help me figure out the best way to create such a weave, and or perhaps sew in plates, if that's what you determine to be the best way for it.
Okay, Albie, I think I have two things that I could use here to assist. One is valuable fact, which, if I make a... Hold on, let me look at it. If I, once per encounter, perform a valuable facts action, make an average knowledge check. If successful, add 1 triumph to 1 ally skill check during the encounter.
You could absolutely
That's
use
awesome.
that if you chose to, and just mechanically, so you'd understand, the number of advantages or triumphs that you have would affect the statistics of the item he creates, so it would
Yes.
have a lasting benefit. So.
I know I can only use it once per encounter, but we're making something good, so hopefully I can do that for him.
So why don't you start out by making that average knowledge check?
Also, just to go full force here, I have a researcher improved on a successful knowledge check. Character and allies gain automatic. Is that advantage?
Advantage, yeah.
Awesome!
Advantage per rank of researcher on checks to act on those facts until the end of. So I could probably
Characters
do.
and allies gain an automatic advantage per rank of researcher on checks to act on those facts. Okay, so although it's probably not the way they intended it to be used, I think it is perfectly acceptable in this case. Yeah.
You're the GM. I'll follow your lead on it.
So, yeah, I would say that would apply.
Okay, so let me just roll that. Let's hope I succeed. Warfare. And then 2 purple die. Success.
Yeah, so you are just a wealth of useful information on armor fashions and of the various cultures in the core worlds, mid rim, inner rim, outer rim, and you prattle on for a great length of time, probably a superfluous amount of information, more than Kip needed. But after hearing him, Kip, you feel extremely confident in your ability to figure out a design of a schematic. And specifically, you concoct a concept for a set of armored clothing whose fashion you can specifically tailor when you make it to the individual person's tastes, but would both add the protection that would be expected, but as well as a handy concealable pocket for a lightsaber weapon, which would make it much harder for anyone searching him to find it.
Awesome. Does that mean, do I need to roll or not?
You still are going to roll.
Okay.
However, we're going to be adding a triumph and, what is it, 2 advantages,
One
right?
Just one. I only have one rank. In
Okay,
research.
so 1 advantage, 1 triumph to whatever result you roll.
Awesome. Okay.
And since I got a triumph there, does that do anything for him?
The triumph on
the triumph, right?
Well, the triumph that you rolled on your check for that power will not add another triumph to his.
Gotcha. I was wondering if it added any blue dice, like in combat.
I feel confident your
Question?
bonuses will set him in a highly advantageous
I was going to
position.
say, would he be allowed to upgrade his roll with this triumph?
Yes. That'd be nice.
Whatever the DM like.
It's a question.
That makes sense.
I'll tell you what.
Like how the players are like, hey, DM.
I
speaking my
will
language.
let you add a blue dice as well. Upgrading
Okay.
the roll has a
So-
much stronger mechanical effect on.
Fair enough.
Got it. Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, so actually
That's
You-
good, right?
rolled a glut of successes, 6 successes. We're adding a triumph and an advantage to that. So, Kip, you are able to you pull out your data pad and you furiously with the stylus kind of begin drawing up all these plans, and as you can barely get one out of your mind onto the page when you flip the page over into a little holographic area in front of you, and you furiously start scribbling on the next one, and you barely can your hand can barely move fast enough to keep up with what your mind is putting together here, and you actually create a reusable schematic for a version of armored clothing that will assist in concealing lightsaber or other small device, and upon successful construction will confer a significant setback dice to whomever attempts to find those items on the person.
While you've got my jacket down there, Kip, I would like to remind you there's a giant blaster hole in it, too.
Now,
We'll draw a star around it.
making this many successes on a research check essentially equates to you nearly instantaneously finish this research. So you can assume that within a mere 5 to 10 minutes time, which is exceptionally fast for that process, you've completed it, leaving you enough time to actually craft one in the downtime that you have.
Savage.
I imagine that Kip is gotten to the point where he's like drawing things like holographically, and L3 is like they're just like speaking like random piece of like and they're just sort of adding things together. That's what he's imagining doing, right? But yeah, so I will build a set of armor, and this will be for fire.
Okay, so for your schematic, it normally would have cost you per unit 2 of the spare parts and 300 credits. It actually your schematic only requires 1 spare part and 200 credits. That would be the cost of constructing one.
Excellent. I think I have a talent that allows me to hang on a second. That allows me to like actually decrease the amount. No, sorry, that's for mods, not for construction.
For
So
mods,
forget
yeah.
it. Yeah, so forget it. Okay.
Okay, so you're going to use your last spare part you have at the moment. By the way, you get more of those by disassembling or searching items that you find. You can break them down into components. And then as for the cost, I think those are
Just
all...
deducted 300 from the credit balance that we have as a group.
make it 200. He figures out how to make it cheaper and more efficiently.
Sale.
So...
Let it be.
you construct... by the way, this is for Bior?
For Bioware.
Byron, tell him how you want the aesthetic of your clothing to look while I adjust your character sheet.
All right. Well, I need loose legs for movement.
He's gonna basically model it off of what you're currently wearing, unless
Perfect.
you
No.
have
See,
said.
that's perfect.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So it's literally like what he's wearing, except there's some flare at the cuff, and the collar. The collar's a little more disco than he wants it to be.
You do this intentionally, I imagine.
Enough to pull that off.
No, it's just this is what Kip imagines both Tyrus and Bio to be sort of fashion plates, more so than anyone else in the crew. They seem to have a
Low
very
bar.
specific
Low
style,
bar.
and this is what Kip imagines is stylistic. So,
Shit.
Flare that
Tyrus
collar
has a
when you
gentle
smoke your
conversation.
pipe.
Art.
It's clashing with Bior's pipe.
Yeah, no. I want him to pop that collar when he smokes the pipe.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be popping collars all over the place.
Just remember,
Pipe in the mouth. pops the
fireproof.
collar up. Follows the dude down the street.
okay, so this is a mechanics check. I
Okay,
get
so
to use-
here's where you get to use your buku bonuses from your talents. You're going to be making a mechanics check. It's also just hard difficulty.
I'm strained to reduce that
You
because I
get to
can.
yes, you can add the strain to your character sheet to reduce the difficulty by 1, so it becomes 2 purple dice.
2.
And your inventor gives you a bonus too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives me a lot. Let me see. I think I have 3 ranks. Hang on a second. Inventor. I have 3 ranks, so that's 3 purple dice.
What does inventor do again? Read it to us.
Hang on, let me. It basically, when I'm constructing or modifying an item, I can either add boost dice per ranks of inventor, or I can subtract the black dice, the setback dice.
Okay,
per
so
rank.
you get to add 3 boost dice then.
Yes. Do I get to add anything from? Oh, I do, because I have the Remus Curious Tinkerer, so he also is helping me. So I get
He
a boost
also
dice from
helps.
him.
So that's 4 blue dice.
And
Good lord.
because Kip recently learned how to be the river or be the banks of the river, he's going to go ahead and tap into the force to for any mechanics check I can use the force.
And
If you roll.
it adds successes if you, right?
No, I can choose. It either I can choose to add either a success or an advantage based off just whatever I choose.
Okay, so
Kip
so
uses
you rolled
the
3
black
success,
dice,
1
but he's the
triumph.
river.
And then horsepowers. I'm just looking up manipulate again because I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, so spend a force point to no.
I'm just smoking my pipe and watching them work.
When making a mechanic skill check, the user may roll manipulate power check as part of the pool and may spend a force point to gain success or advantage. Okay, so first of all, you have to flip a destiny point and add 1 strain and 1 conflict to do that.
Okay.
Go ahead and
It
add
does.
your strain. I put the conflict there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so you have 4 successes and a triumph, basically, as the result of your roll. So in this case, actually, the wearer of the armor, I'm giving, due to the triumph in this particular case, I am going to give it an extra point of soak, actually.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So it's going to have a soak rating of 2, Bior, which means I'm increasing your soak rating by 1. So the armor has more soak than your previous set of armored clothing, and anybody searching you to find whatever small hidden item you have put in the concealing area of the armored clothing, gets 2 setback dice to the roll.
You put that on the thing. You also have melee defense of 1 and range defense of 1 because that's what armored clothing is.
Oh, badass. I do not have any range right now. This is great.
Wait, hang on one second. Where do you see that, Kip?
That's in part of armored clothing. Hang on. So defense. Oh, sorry. So defense 1. It could be one or the other. It's not both. Or maybe I don't know. What does that mean? Hang on. Let me go to my book.
Defense.
Oh, you were looking at armored clothing. No. I'm sorry. I thought you were looking at heavy clothing. So the cost is going to be significantly different.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I wrote to you and I said, you asked, is it heavy clothing? I said no. It's armored clothing.
Oh, okay. So I didn't get your response because I had well, for reasons, but let's put it this way. So the adjusted cost, because that's actually requires a lot more materials, your adjusted cost of that is going to be 700 credits. So Tyrus, deduct the net 500 extra for that.
Okay.
But he is correct. Now your total defenses are going to be 2 for melee, 1 for ranged.
Holy Jesus.
Wait, I thought defense was just melee, because deflection is range.
If it says
Or am I wrong?
let me double check. I think if it just says +1 defense, it's for both, but
It might be.
That makes sense.
Oh, I might be thinking of the weapon characteristic.
Yeah, you might be because there's 2 different types of defense for armor. There's melee
Oh,
and
yes.
ranged.
It adds black dice. Defense add black dice. Gotcha. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're right. In armor.
yeah.
was
I need to
thinking-
double check that at a different time, at maybe an off game time. But let's say
No,
for
I
the
just
moment,
looked it up.
it should count for both melee and ranged.
It does. It literally says armored defense adds black dice equal to the rating directly to the attacker's pool.
And although I allowed the construction previously before I realized that, so let this one slide, but the component cost for spare parts is going to be 3 instead of 1 for this armor. For the next set of it that you create. So yeah, Bayer, you have some pretty awesome armor there.
I got sick armor. I'm stunned with the quality. Kip, I didn't know you can do work like this. This is amazing.
L3 was of help.
And the
Sure.
Kalara Fashion House is born.
Ishwar says it's not flashy enough. It's too pretty.
Meanwhile, Jensa and Tyrus have aluminum foil inside their...
Kip literally looks at Ishwar and he says, does the collar need to be bigger?
No, the collar's fine, Kip. The collar's fine.
Does the lapel need to go all the way past the shoulder? Is that what you're saying?
He suggests that the armor is too pretty and people may want to dance with him. And then he starts taking me he puts the body of the Dark Trooper on the table and starts tearing it apart for his own pieces.
By the way, as this is going
I
on,
will show you.
you are
And
seeing an
it is-
alert on the comm system that you're getting an incoming hail.
Me?
Across the
I'm
ship.
gonna-
Yeah, you would see it first, Jensen, in the
Well,
cockpit.
we're doing this in the cockpit, so I'm just gonna flip it on and get up and sit in my chair and flip it on and say,
As you flip it
Who is
on,
it?
you hear the familiar guttural sounds of Aqualish across the intercom. As
I'm just going to roll my eyes and look at Tyrus, who's sitting next to me.
as you hear your dear old friend Shuck Rodank, the spice chemist, greet you. My friends, I trust you are on your way to Nar Shaddaa.
We should be pulling into port shortly.
Excellent. Why don't we meet after you appropriately land in Docking Bay 17? I will be.
Is this a
expecting
change
you.
from the last time he changed our location, or is this the same place that you said last?
It's basically that you're in your spaceport that you're going to be landing on, so the same place. He gave you a docking bay to meet him in.
Yeah.
We'll arrange the cargo transfer and the transfer of your credits. I trust you can safely navigate the landing procedures without any complications.
Shouldn't be an issue.
Pleasure doing business with you. Fly safe. And he clicks off the intercom.
You as well. I'm going to look at Tyrus. I hate that guy, and I've got a bad feeling about this. Now, I tried to think ahead on this one, and nothing. So, I don't know, just got a bad feeling about it.
Tyrus was about to ask her whether she had any feelings about what may happen.
I kind of want to think about it some more. I don't foresee any problems, but I don't know.
And what's the status of our weaponry and our shields?
The ship's okay. I mean, we got a little banged up.
You have 3 hull trauma and 3 system strain.
Hey, Kip.
Now that Kip has finished his De
Any
Laurent
chance you can
moment.
get around to making the repairs on the ship? We're a little banged up.
He cannot do repairs on the ship. He can only attempt to repair strain.
Yeah, I have to be in a dock to actually repair.
No, I meant
the-
once we roll into.
Oh.
You can
yes.
ask, yes, because every spaceport has different regulations as to that sort of thing. But
If we wanted to learn more about our destination, would that be an education check or a outer rim check?
So depending on what you're trying to figure out specifically, I'll tell you what check it is. So if you could tell me in a little more detail what Tyrus wants to find out about your destination. For example, if you want to find out about the government and how it's run there, that would probably just be Outer Rim. If you wanted to find out how the criminal syndicates behave with each other, it would be Underworld, etc., etc.
I'm wondering more about the structure of the planet and who's in charge.
That would be... who's in charge? Governmentally would be Outer Rim.
It's a place to start.
And it would be just an average check. So Tyrus, you roll a success and an advantage, and you would be aware, without even really needing to look anything up, that hut space in general is traditionally been its own sovereign system, and although it had been perhaps much larger in the eras before, it has contracted slightly since at the end of the Republic and the reign of the Empire. But the Hutt ruling council basically is the power body that determines everything that goes on in Hutt space, from the administration of the planets to law about business and conduct. The Khajiitics, which is the word in Huttese that describes probably the easiest translation would be clan or cartel. A Khajiitic is a construct that the Hutts understand intuitively, but it's basically their family clan, and it also kind of represents the same concept as we describe it with the word cartel. It has to do with their business savvy, their criminal kind of cunning, and family loyalty and things like that. So these Khajiitics, there are various Khajiitics, all vie for power, and the most elite of the Khajiitics sit on the ruling council. So not all of them have representation on the ruling council, but those who do are the most powerful of the Khajidics. And they will make decisions on the running of this particular moon that you're going to, which is Nar Shaddaa, which orbits Nalhutta, which is the capital world of the Hutts.
But specific to this one moon, there is a structure of who the governor, the representative, who is the power broker on this particular planet.
From what you rolled, you would know that the most influential power brokers at the moment come from the Bisadi Khajidik. The Bisadis are... let me see if you know some of the names of them. Give me 1 second. Some famous Bajadi Khajidik members are Durga the Hutt, Zir the Hutt, Gardula the Hutt. They're sort of like the leaders of that clan. They're very influential, and Nar Shaddaa is actually one of their strongholds. And the other dominant Khajidik is the Desilijik Khajidik, which its prominent members are Jabba and Gorga.
And these were probably people I might likely have had dealings with financially in the past.
Yes. In your personal dealings with them, your family has always had a strong bent towards mining operations and finance. And so your family's mining operations, the shipping aspect of it, has frequently been plagued by piracy in areas around Hutt space. So on one hand, you would know them well for being a plague to your intersystem commerce. Also, you have purchased a lot of transport through them in areas where you couldn't personally sort of finance and control the passage of these ships. So they have both legitimately done business with you, arranging for transport of goods, and also illicitly interfered with you by funding piracy.
But there's another layer, which is that the Mune control all financial transactions on every side of the equation, so we are actually their bankers as well.
It is true. However, the Hutts are notorious for hoarding their wealth on their own Khajidic's private throne worlds, almost like a dragon would sit over their pile of gold. So they do rely on some banking activity, but they also are notorious for keeping hoards of their wealth and goods in private stashes.
But as someone that we've dealt with before, and I know on social interactions, people with which you have a prior relationship may give you a blue advantage.
It depends on what you're trying to do, of course. But yes, if you may have had prior business dealings with any of these individuals, yes, you may have either advantage or setback depending on what you're trying to do with them and how they think of you from past dealings.
Just checking.
I look at you.
You would know also, by the way, Tyrus, specific to Nar Shaddaa, you've heard a name repeatedly. Glebo the Hutt, who is part of the Bisadi Khajidik, is highly involved in operations on the legitimate side. They would include things like electronics, warehouses, and gambling machines. And on the illicit side, spice dealings, funding some piracy, things like that. And Glebo the Hutt is his name.
Albie, there isn't any reason to anticipate we're going to have any trouble docking, is there?
No. Nar Shaddaa is a highly trafficked moon.
Okay. I'm just going to look at Tyrus and say, when we get there, I would much prefer it if you just went and dealt with him. I don't want to deal with him again.
Tyrus is sensing that things are about to get rather complicated.
You could say that.
I think Gillis...
As the GM hides an evil smile. No, I'm just kidding.
So as we're sitting before all hell breaks loose, I turn to Jensa and ask her, clearly you've taken quite the interest in the welfare of Kip. He's just learned that not only is he no longer alone, he's no longer powerless. He's suddenly become aware of access to something far beyond anything he could dream. I'm concerned that this may take him in an unforeseen direction.
I'm really concerned about that too. But every time I've tried to have a conversation with Kip, he seems to think I'm like kidnapped him or something. So I'm done. I don't know how to talk to that kid. I really just don't know how to talk to him. I don't want to make things worse. I don't think he wants a mom. I don't think he knows what to do with a mom.
Don't piss him off till he finishes your armor. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Gillith, I'm saying this right? Gillith?
Geleth, yeah.
Geleth, yeah. Geleth gave it to me, so I'm assuming he's going to patch it up or whatever, but I don't know. I just don't know how to talk to Kip. I feel like when I try to, he takes it the wrong way, and I don't know how to approach him. We have a lot in common. I mean, you know, he's kind of, in a lot of ways, got the same childhood I had, and I think there's probably a lot of anger in him about it, justly so. But
perhaps we can all find a common thread in trusting no one, and yet now trusting each other is our only salvation.
I don't think he tried to kill us yet, but I am concerned he's going to.
Jensa's natural optimism, yet.
I do think he's at risk, and I think we should watch him, but I don't think coming off as patronizing is going to help him, and I really just don't know how to approach Kip. I don't.
The Master has taught us that the Force is neither dark nor light. It is about balance between the dark and the light.
I feel like we're all a bunch of kids trying to lead each other around. I don't know. We need guidance. We need serious training, Tyrus. I think it would probably be good for all of us to have, like, formal training. Which is what I hope we can get some of once we get back. While we're here, we should probably keep our ears peeled about any information about other people like us. What is under my feet? Cut.
Hashtag baby.
Yeah.
So as that unfolds, you see a system chime that you're now...
I'm not done talking. I've just got a toddler on my leg.
Continue. So the ship actually drops out of hyperspace. And you are now sitting comfortably aboard the ship, and you're probably within sort of medium range from now Hutta and the moon of Nar Shaddaa. And you see a large number of comings and goings of vessels. There's a lot of activity, landing, ships entering and leaving the atmosphere. There's a lot of patrol vessels in the area. Some of these patrol vessels have a logo on them, which I will put up. Where is it?
Before we land, do we still have time to do our education check for our Wookiee skills?
Yes, I will allow that roll. So you see this symbol on some of these large warships that are patrolling. Of course, these aren't Imperial ships. These are some kind of private naval force. You're not sure what it means, but that's kind of what you see on the vessels. And go ahead and make your hard knowledge education checks, please.
Didn't you say they would add a blue dice since I was teaching them?
Yeah, can we get a blue dice?
They both get a blue dice.
Yeah, but can I use my lore intelligence for that symbol?
You could. Actually, I'll tell you what you can roll for that in just a second. Okay, so Jensa, you got 2 successes. You're at 6 out of 10, and Tyrus, none additional at this time. So Jensa's at 6 out of 10, Tyrus at 5 out of 10. Okay, for that symbol, you can roll Knowledge Outer Rim, or Knowledge Underworld.
I don't have either of those.
Average difficulty?
All of us or just some of us?
Anyone who saw that, which would be anyone standing near a window or portal.
Okay.
Average difficulty?
Okay, so
The heck? We dumb.
I succeeded.
you do.
Vaguely.
Give me one.
Speaking of which, I should have Underworld in class, but I don't. I'll have to fix that later.
Yeah, you would think that Kip would have warfare in class with armor, but he doesn't.
Well, no,
So-
one of my. Go ahead.
Oh no, say what you were gonna say.
I was just gonna say no. My class actually gives me Underworld. That's just not checked off. I'll just have to do that later.
So, Jensa, you kind of recognize this from your previous experience piloting in the Outer Rim. This is the Khajiit or clan symbol of the Kunalak Khajiit, which was they're actually represented on the Hutt ruling council, and they are the naval military force of the Hutts. Their entire Khajiit is devoted 100% all of their resources into a massive space fleet, which protects Hutt space, and particularly the Dead Road and the path to Bunta Hutta, which is the Butana Hutta, which is actually like the private sector of Hutt throne worlds, which no non-Hutts are permitted to enter. So they are pretty much the space fleet that defends the Hutt interests, and they would appear to just be patrolling the area and keeping things quiet.
I just say to Tyrus, is that kind of like as we pass one and see the logo, I say local law enforcement. You know, for the 3 laws.
For the 3 laws they do have.
You know, don't piss off the cartel. Don't piss off the cartel.
All right, so you're sitting in space as ships are passing you by, looking at the beautiful smuggler's moon of Nar Shaddaa.
Yeah. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and comms up and say, ladies and gentlemen, we are entering our final approach. If there's any business you need to attend to before exiting the ship, now would be the time to bring it up. Otherwise, we're going to split into 2 groups. Tyrus is going to unload our package to its proper owner. And I think I'm going to take a gander at what we need to have to enter this competition. I don't think anyone should be running around this moon by themselves. If you do so at your own danger.
I'm going to request that Bayor come with me.
Oh, it's me and you, man. You don't need to worry about that.
Pop
I just
that
want to
collar.
borrow your suit. Actually, I think you're going to be very handy. A Wookiee where we're walking into might attract a bit of attention, and I need some serious muscle.
Kip, we do have some hull damage. Do you want me to... Do you need anything?
Are you suggesting you don't want me with you, Tyrus?
No, actually, I would love you to be with me, but I think we may be running into people that might either want to own you or eat you.
I was actually hoping you could come with us, Ishwar. Me, Ishwar, if you wouldn't mind. That's up to you.
What are we doing?
Well, we gotta get docked and make sure we can fix the ship, but we've gotta go check out this whole mercenary competition if we're gonna participate.
If Tyrus is thinking he's going to have a problem.
Yeah, that's true. You should go with him. I'm assuming we're getting Leto to trans.
Yes.
Lido, you want to come with me?
I can go wherever I'm needed more, though the Wookiee would be without translation services. If I
I
were
will
to
say,
split up.
as much as Kip does not like being without Remus, he tells Remus to go with the Wookiee so that he can be real-time translation for Ishwar.
He's like a thought
yes. The adapter.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Remus is as much of a person as you are.
So
Recorded for later review.
we're in final approach, correct?
No one has radioed for permission to land, but yeah.
I'm just getting the conversation over with the team before I go ahead and make contact. So I'll go ahead and hail in and start docking procedures.
So the comlink comes open, and you hear a very polite voice. Welcome to Nar Shaddaa, the jewel of Nalhutta. How can I assist you?
Good. Is it morning there? Can you tell?
It is actually, it's late morning. Essentially, it's the early part of this day. Yeah.
Good morning.
Second breakfast.
Are you looking for landing clearance, madam?
We are.
I am going to issue you a permit to land at Docking Bay 13. Please power down your vessel after landing and observe all local rules and regulations. Please see the attached document. And you see like a 400-page digital document come up of all the landing regulations. Please be aware, the jurisdiction of the spaceport is under the joint control of the Hutt Ruling Council and does not represent any single Khajiitic in and of itself. Safe landings.
Tyrus
Thank you.
immediately
You have a
turns to
wonderful
Jensa.
Yeah.
Tyrus turns to Jensa and says, "The spice dealer told us to meet him at dock 17. They're directing us to dock 13."
So I guess I'll have to carry the box over there. I kind of don't want him anywhere near the Errant Seeker personally, so...
I'm never going to be your beast of burden.
Well,
Ishwar pipes up.
Mush!
Is the Wookiee in hearing shot?
I have spent plenty of time here, and as long as you stick to the main areas, you shouldn't encounter any problems. Going into shady... Once you go outside normal patrol areas is where you're going to need to start watching your back. If anybody does anything to the ship in the docking bay, they will have to answer to the Hutt Council, unless they are already working for the Hutt Council.
Therein lies my concern.
Have any of you pissed off the Hutt Council?
Nope, I have had multiple dealings on this moon. I am fine.
Tyrus says nothing.
I've never dealt with the Hutts.
Then we probably won't have an issue. And if we do, we break stuff that usually doesn't make them happy, because it makes them look weak.
I'm gonna go ahead and flip through this manual. Is there anything about repairs? Can I search the computer file for...
Yeah, as you flip through...
L3 made a download.
Yeah, L3, you instantly have the whole document available to you, and you could respond to her question that on Article 13, subsection 4, it specifically forbids any self-repairs as it infringes upon the agreements with the local unions, which are, of course, protected in the interest of business.
I guess we're gonna hit a machine shop too while we're here, Lido.
If a droid could look nervous, like, whatever for, Mistress Jensen?
The ship has hull damage.
Ah, yes, the ship. Okay.
We're gonna have you appraised.
You hear like the whirring of like actuators as his central photoreceptor
He seems
snaps
to
to
be
you.
performing just absolutely fine to me.
Technically, on this planet, you could have Tyrus appraised.
Not apprised, appraised. We want to see what he's worth.
I'm sure on this planet you could have Kip
he's
appraised
actually
too.
Yes. Kip has been appraised on this
Sold on this thing before.
on this planet already.
Redboys.com.
Human trafficking is not uncommon in this area.
Kip
How
has
do you think he got?
been
How do you think he's got with Jagason in the first place?
Oy.
sold. He's been passed around a few times. Poor kid.
Boy Scout leader.
Oh God, please.
But anyway, as you guys are all leaving, Kip says to Tyrus and to Jensa, Mrs. Jensa, I will need some metallic weave to fix your coat, and Master Tyrus, if you would like a set of fly armor as well, I would need some. You would need to purchase some equipment, and he writes down a list and sends it to your data pad.
How would I be able to access that list?
On your data pad.
He's saying in in character, he sent you a list of information of things that he would need. Basically.
I know, but the backstory is I don't know how to actually look at that list when I want to find out what I need to acquire.
He has someone do that for him, typically.
Oh, I don't know. That's for Tyrus
What's
to
a
figure out.
data pad?
Tyrus.
Or you'd be like Tony Stark. I don't like it when people hand me things.
Tyrus, I'm gonna take leaders shopping and get stuff to see how much it's gonna cost us to fix the ship anyway. Just give me the data pad.
Okay, so as the ship enters the atmosphere, you come down, and what you see before you is a moon entirely covered with urban sprawl. I mean, there is not a single piece of natural land visible as far as the eye can see. A lot like Coruscant, but it has a very different feeling. If Coruscant looked more like Vegas, it would probably be more akin to what you're seeing
Vegas
here.
mixed with the Klingon homeworld is how I think it looks.
Yeah, and you can't really see the ground because buildings have been built on top of buildings on top of buildings on top of buildings for generations and generations until the urban sprawl has reached all the way up to the skyline, to the upper, parts of the atmosphere. So, I mean, the outer crust layer of the buildings that cover the planet are where the privileged people live, and you see they look quite attractive, and there's some seediness to it and such, but this is kind of like maybe where the more wealthy patrons live and
Mobster.
People who visit. And you could see as your eyes kind of go down in the crevices and spaces between buildings that they descend farther than you can see into darkness. And those who have been here before would know that those layers of substructure and sub-buildings go all the way down for kilometers upon kilometers. And as the further down you go, the more rough it gets until you're basically in the lowest levels in a place with no power and utter darkness where street law rules. But on this upper layer, I'm going to show you the area that you are moving towards as you move towards the spaceport. I will put some artwork up here for you. And this region, give me 1 second. Here we are. So what you see here before you is what you're kind of flying into. You see buildings stretching as far as you can see. There's a lot of glitz and lights and advertisements and various alien dialects for goods and services and popular items. Holographic dancers, nightclubs, malls and shopping places. This is a totally commercial district, and it's probably one of the most upper level areas of Nar Shaddaa in terms of prestige, and it's commonly referred to as the Glitzway Promenade. And as you move through the Glitzway Promenade, you see Opulus Spaceport before you, and the ship is kind of making its way towards the spaceport. Oh, I actually would. By the way, did everyone get the image that I put up?
Oh yeah.
Sir,
Okay.
Is that original art? Because that's really awesome.
This is original artwork. I will like to take a moment to credit the artist. I am just pulling up something. Pedro de Elizalde is our artist who created this beautiful work. And it actually is... we discussed kind of the first area that you guys were going to be coming into, and I think you did a great job of capturing it. And like you said, I wanted a little bit of Vegas, but a little bit of, almost like the way Singapore is. It's high-tech and skyscrapers and stuff, just filled with lights and glamour. Other areas of Nar Shaddaa
No gum.
are a little scummier, but this one isn't. And as you make your way towards Opulus Spaceport, you begin the landing procedure of your ship, and let me adjust our sound.
Very Blade Runner-ish.
And yes, it is very Blade Runner-ish.
Tyrus looks at that rather phallic building at the end of the image and realizes that it's a familiar sight, that he has friends that live in that building.
The casino.
Friends that live in the casino.
Which one?
Damn, those kind of
Oh,
Best friends.
the dead center. The dead center.
I'm gonna go ahead and
Looks like a Phillips head
Galleth.
screwdriver.
Okay.
As I'm docking, I'm just gonna go ahead and ring up Gelleth. Can we text? Is that...
Yeah, you're in the middle of a major communications hub, so you'd be able to send essentially like an instant message via the HoloNet.
Yeah, I'll just send an instant message, or video message, or whatever it is. Hey, just landed in Nar Shaddaa. Give me a ring.
And you can see kind of the little symbols underneath that looks like he's actively typing a response.
He's so quick.
Wait, is this Mr. Hawk?
It is.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
The minute I text him, he's like,
He's like, Jensa, what are you doing on Nar Shaddaa?
hopefully not getting shot is what I'm guessing.
How can I help you?
I had a list of things that Kip wanted me to grab, and also I kind of had a hole blown through the shoulder of that cool jacket you made me.
At least it's seeing some use. Breaks my heart to hear you've already kind of damaged it, though. At least it kept you safe.
I was only in a Bakwa tank for 8 hours. I text back. Back this, sorry.
He says, well, I know Nar Shaddaa really well. I'm there all the time. Probably the places I would check out first. They got a nice armor district, place called the Surly Mandalorian. They sell a lot of armor gear.
Wasn't
You should
he
be.
coming here? Out of
He did say he was, yeah, but he hasn't mentioned it again in this conversation.
Weird. Okay, yeah, I'm just making sure.
He says, yeah, there's a place called the Surly Mandalorian which sells armor and equipment. You could get some gear from him. Boltburn's Emporium is really good for weapons. There's a nice bar that everyone seems to hang out at there. Kind of a local character in town who knows everybody and has his hands in everything. Place is called Jolly Somewheres.
I'm gonna look over to Tyrus as we're, docking and getting unloaded and grabbing up our stuff and all that stuff and say, want to meet at Jolly Somewheres after you make your drop?
I think we might run into some old friends there.
Good way, bad way.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Alright, I'm gonna go shopping. I'm gonna see what we need to get into this contest. Or
Before-
seeker. We need to come up with a mercenary name.
Before you go, I have things to add to the list, as well as funds.
Alright?
I believe we should have a supply of crafting materials. I think we should get about 700 credits worth of crafting materials. I would like to request if you can find a shield, Kratos' shield for me at the armor shop, and we should get some more data spikes. And he hands you 2,000 credits to make that happen.
Sounds good. Tyrus, I'll just text you with how much I need.
Tyrus looks up towards the casino with sort of a shudder. A sort of a dark feeling comes over him. And he just turns with his usual... He turns with his usual self-possession and says, well, you seem to have everything well in hand. I think I'll try my luck.
You need to make the drop first.
Don't other people do that for me?
No, you wanted to make the box thing happen, so we made the box thing happen. You gotta drop it off. And
Someone's gotta collect the money.
Tyrus does the largest eye roll in Mun history, but agrees.
Ishwar's going with you.
He has his eyes on the Delcino Grand, the finest casino in this area.
I'm gonna whisper to the Wookiee. I'm gonna whisper to Ishwar, maybe don't let him near the casino table.
So,
unfortunately, Remus doesn't know how to whisper and fully translates that.
Well, I understand that, so...
He doesn't need it translated from me.
So,
Remus doesn't know that.
Tyrus turns to Jensa and says, well, I'm assuming I don't have to deal with gravity when it comes to transporting them. Do you have a hand cart or anything?
It's a box, Tyrus. It's a box.
Can't the space butler do this?
There would be
me?
a repulsor lift apparatus to move cargo.
You know what? For hilarity's sake, I'm gonna pick up the 2-foot by 2-foot box, put it on the giant cargo lifter that's meant for carrying multi-ton equipment, and push it out to him.
Actually, it's just 2 little rollerblade wheels and a handle.
The box is literally, it's like a shoebox-sized box.
Alright, so you guys kind of come
put it
down.
on the big cargo thing, roll it to him, and say, have fun.
I thought it was the size
Get
of a
paid.
coffin.
Get us paid. Remember, this is the guy that's gonna be problems if he doesn't get this box. Drop the box.
So
And
the
I
errant
turn
seeker,
to Ishwar and say, where is loading dock 17?
you're landing now in Opulus Spaceport, Bay 13, into a hangar bay. And as you're powering down the ship, you kind of get a look around the hangar bay, and you see groupings of symbols on the wall. You recognize the previous one I had shown you of the Kunalak, but there is a number of other symbols around as well. Probably you'd imagine representing the different Khajiitics. There's a group of a group is not a fair term. There's a excess of guards, heavily armed, on catwalks throughout the complex. You count just in Bay 13 alone about 20 guards patrolling above. A lot of them are of various alien races. The most commonly represented in this particular room are known as Nikto, which I'll show you here. So a lot of them are of this race.
It's huge.
There are some Sakaians, which you've seen before, some humans, and they're pretty much heavily armed mercenaries, and they bear various symbols on them from what Khajiitic they represent. However, the goings-on of the spaceport are not interrupted. There's unloading of cargo, merchants moving back and forth. There's a lot of bustle and activity. And as you land, you see a small contingent come up to the ship. There's a large Nikto and a droid with him. And they're waiting by the hatch for you.
Jogging on down the gate.
Before anybody goes down, the Wookiee feels he needs to say, remember, this place runs on money and power. We'll project that, and you'll be fine.
Finally, something we can agree on.
And then on we go.
So who's stepping out first?
I think Tyrus would. This is his milieu, and he wants to project that feeling of confidence and also primacy.
I'm gonna toss some of those credits for Victor to go get the data spikes, since he's technically with us.
But
Victor actually tells you that he can't do that right now, that he has something he needs to work on. And he's a little dodgy about it.
Okay. I think to myself, good thing we're landed. He can't crash the ship.
So Tyrus, as you strut out with authority, you see the droid walk up to
I'm flanking Tyrus, making it pretty obvious.
You see the droid walk up to you as he nods curtly but politely and states, "What services will you be in need of in docking today? We can offer replenishment of consumables, repair of damage, and replenishment of fuel."
I'm the one you need to talk to that about, droid. Then I walk.
Tyrus just
And the
waves
droid,
his
like,
hand and says,
cocks
my
his-
captain will take care of that.
He waves his hand. So, Jensa, as you come down, the droid addresses you, "Captain, welcome to Opulus Spaceport. I would like to share with you our fees. We have a nominal docking fee. We can also offer you replenishment of fuel and repair of your vessel, which has seen some light wear."
Yeah, we need repair services and a restocking.
So, as he picks up a data pad and types out everything for you, you see sort of a ledger come out with a total cost of 2,600 credits. 2,200 of that is repairs and maintenance on the ship. The rest is replenishment of food consumables and replenishment of fuel.
Is that
Tyrus
high?
grabs that invoice and says, "Are we in some sort of Wild West here? Are you here to just hold a gun to our heads? This price is insane."
You see the Nikto behind him kind of look at you and snarl, and he has a rifle in his hands just sort of in front of him, and he kind of grips the barrel and is sort of massaging it.
I'm moving closer.
The Wookiee attempts a coercion to back him up by basically saying, I guess really more than anything is kind of like out intimidating the Nikto guy, right? Like, he's like trying to flex his muscle, and I kind of flex my muscle back and give him a little Wookiee growl that says, "He's right, this stuff would be a hell of a lot cheaper any place else."
Okay, so if you want to make a coercion, go ahead and roll it. It's hard difficulty.
Do we want to try to negotiate the price down here? I say to Tyrus. How much money do we have?
Hard is 3.
Hard is 3. Yeah, Tyrus has 15,350 credits.
Me
And you have
all of our
We have, yes.
Yes,
that's a
he has the group.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have something that'll
It's
help
now
you.
in a
That
Swiss
is
bank
literally
account.
all our money.
It's off the coast of Bitcoin.
Hold on, I'm just making sure that I have something that'll help.
But Tyrus
the
says
guard-
in the corner of his mouth, leave him alone.
I'm going to suffer a strain and downgrade the difficulty of this coercion check. That is
that-
intimidating.
Oh, you have
Yes,
intimidating.
may suffer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, add the strain to your character sheet, and it becomes 2 purple dice. So you roll a success. So tell me what you do, actually.
He kind of leans his vibro axe forward and looks directly into the Nikto's eyes and just shakes his head and says, "He's right."
You see the Nikto kind of look back between Bior and you, Ishwar, and he takes one step backwards and starts kind of looking back for some of his colleagues. He seems a bit anxious. And the droid pipes up, might I remind you, since you brought up at this particularly uncomfortable moment, you cannot openly carry weapons in this district.
I'd like to do a negotiation check.
Who are you negotiating with? The droid?
I sense
Over
the
there,
droid is
docking.
merely the functionary. I think I need to figure out who's actually making decision.
The Huts? This is Nar Shaddaa, man. Totally like the mobsters run this place.
So I turn to Jensa and ask, who should I be negotiating with?
The guy that's the muscle or the droid? Negotiate with the droid.
So be it.
I would like to support that with supporting evidence. When assisting an ally with a charm, deception, leadership, or negotiation check, add an automatic advantage per rank of supporting evidence.
Nice.
I
Okay,
believe
so
I'll
yeah.
be negotiating with the droid since the Wookiee intimidated the multi-toothed person.
That is a muscle. That is hired muscle. He's just making sure that the droid doesn't get bashed up.
So
I have
negotiation
one rank.
check?
You're making a negotiation check. The droid would be a hard check, but he has a rank of nobody's fool, so it is upgraded once to 2 purple, 1 red.
One moment. But also with a boost dice?
Boost dice from...
No, I just give you an automatic advantage on your roll.
Yeah, you get.
sorry,
we
sorry,
add
sorry.
an advantage to the result. So the advantage he gave you cancels out the threat you rolled. So you rolled no net success, but you did roll a threat. That is canceled out by his advantage that he granted you from his talent. The droid says to you, "I'm sorry, sir. As loath as I am to offend a new guest, the Khajiit's rules are inviolable here. And we don't want to have any uncomfortable...
I'm just gonna
events.
say in a very charming voice, what's the price just to re-gas up and not worry about the damage repairs?
merely for fuel,
And supplies.
fuel
Provisions,
and
water,
supplies would be 450 credits.
food. Let's just do that for I'm going to whisper to Tyrus in a low tone. I'm just gonna say, we'll get Kip to fix the ship later.
Tyrus agrees, but he also says to Jensa, in a place like this, one must set the tone of the encounter. We
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And Tyrus brusquely moves past the mechanical man and the multi-toothed entity, headed with his small wheelie case,
That's great.
with his small carry-on fittable in the overhead locker contraband, headed directly for Docking Bay 17.
And you see a few people coming up to you that look like they're probably going to request to, scan the gear. But as they look at Ishwar behind you, who has just kind of scared off the Nikto guard, they see him kind of like puff his chest and take a step forward, and they just sort of scurry like cockroaches in all directions. And they let you pass, your cloak kind of waving gently as you walk with your head held high. And you stroll right out of Docking Bay 13 down the corridor. And Byra's going with you, correct?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
absolutely.
So interestingly enough, Docking Bay 17 is at the end of the hall. And as you move down, all of a sudden you begin to see... there are still some guards, but perhaps only a third of what you saw before. And they are all... they are all marked with a particular symbol, which I will show you. You see this symbol. They all share that particular symbol. And these guards actually, they don't have their weapons drawn. As you walked into the room, they're actually turned with their back to you. So when you look up on the catwalks, instead of looking down at you with their weapons, their backs are turned and they're facing the wall, and their weapons are placed on the floor. And they're just standing there. And in the center of the room, you see no ship present. It's just an empty docking bay with the MagCon shield on. So, and you see in the middle one of those little droids that came up to you to inquire about your, docking and all this, and it's been decapitated. And the droid chassis is on the floor, but the head of the droid is being chewed on like a toy by one of those panthers that you are familiar with, especially Tyrus, that seemed to take a liking to you last time.
One of his with me.
So one of these Felucian panthers is just like sort of batting around and licking and biting on the droid's head as if it's a toy. The other panther is kind of swirling around the side of Shuck, who is the Aqualish spice chemist, who's standing there patiently, and he sort of lays a hand down to gently pet Ripgut, which is one of his panthers, and he says in Aqualish, by the way, you don't have a translator with you, do you?
Have Remus.
Remus is following around.
Oh, Remus.
the
Okay, so Remus is instantly translating the words as they come out. So in the original character's natural vocal tone. So you hear him say, "Ooh, it's about time. I was getting nervous. You brought my goods, I assume?"
We never walk out on a negotiated deal.
I knew I could count on you, Tyrus. That jumpy lady who pilots your ship is a different story, but you're a man who understands and appreciates the value of getting business done and taking care of someone who is in a position to take care of you.
We brought your case, Shook. Where
Yes.
are our credits?
Yes, of course. And he snaps his fingers, and one of the Nikto come out, and he brings a case to you. As he opens the case, you see a bunch of credit chits in there. 5,000 credits as agreed in exchange for my goods. And he snaps another finger, and one of the guards comes out, and he uses some kind of device to unlock the crate. It's like he passes this small handheld transmitter over the case, and it clicks open, and it reads on the transmitter a green indicator. And he says, "Good, I see nothing has been tampered with." And he looks
As
inside.
Agreed.
And as it's opened, you just see like stack upon stack upon stack, vial after vial after vial after vial of substances of various colors. Some are liquid, some are solid. And he looks at you and says, "May I interest you in a sample for your hard work?"
Shook, we've deeply appreciated the unique chemistry that you brought to restore the health of our master, but at the moment we're not in the market for any pharmaceuticals.
Well, your loss. And he pulls out a vial, and he just tosses it right towards you, Tyrus. And are you going to catch it or let it break?
Because Jensa's not there, I'm going to catch it. She's so judgy.
And he throws you a vial of something, and you catch it and take a look at it, and there's a liquid in there. Not sure quite what it does yet, but you pop it in your pocket.
But I will say to Shook, I won't even say, just one eyebrow goes up and I give him a look. What have you just thrown at me?
Oh, well, this particular beauty is a little something that comes from a spice on Iridonia, and it was actually created by their shamans to grant warriors greater clarity of mind. There are various drugs that use this scattered across the galaxy, but these little pellets will allow you to shrug off tremendous physical hardship. Of course, for every high there's a crash, and this drug is no exception. And once it runs its course, you seem to, let's just say, need some downtime. And mechanically, once you imbibe this, any character under the effect of Yurak is not required to make any fear checks, and he counts as succeeding automatically. However, once he's used it, he must also add a setback dice to any willpower or presence related check for the remainder of the session. Let's think of it as liquid courage.
It's pretty awesome.
And he points to the case and he
always have
says...
the most interesting suitcases.
He points to the case and he says, bear in mind, I have at least a good 20 creations here, all of various abilities that might assist in your difficult tasks that you undertake on a daily basis.
I turn to Bior, our medical biochemist, and I raise an eyebrow.
I can't say that I'm not curious as to see what he has
Not
in there.
doing business with this guy again.
You're not here.
He pulls out another and he says, have you ever seen this? And he pulls this out and it's a vial of this brilliant blue. It almost looks like it's glowing with a black light, but it is no light there. This little wonder will make any attempt that you do based on the sharpness of your mind or the keenness of your agility easier for a time. Or perhaps this one would be of interest. And he pulls out another one that's kind of yellow. And this one can reduce any strain upon the imbiber for the entire encounter. Quite usful. Anyway,
At what price?
well, there's all minor side effects. Mechanically speaking, the one he just showed you will allow you to roll an additional force die for any force check you make. It essentially temporarily increases your force rating. However, you double any strain or conflict that is incurred due to the use of dark side points while you're taking it.
I gently stuff that in my pocket while making sure Jensa is not around.
As he takes it, as you go to take it, he pulls it back and says, the first one was a freebie. This one costs you.
Shook, we've just brought you something across space and time. We've endured countless challenges, even fatalities. Surely a small token of our suffering would be in order.
He looks like he wants to argue with you for a moment, but then he looks down at Ripgut and says, I don't know, Ripgut, what do you think? And Ripgut kind of goes around your leg, Tyrus, and this is the one that took a liking to you last time, and just like a cat would kind of rub on your leg and kind of like push their body against you. The panther does this, but the panther's like a few hundred pounds, so it like almost knocks you down, but it nuzzles against you and his tail kind of wraps around your leg and passes uncomfortably close to your nether regions. Says, well, Ripgut likes you. Go ahead, take it. And I'll send an inventory list to you of the other possibilities that I provide. For those of you like yourselves who find themselves in harm's way all the time, my little concoctions can mean the difference between success or failure.
Tyrus looks at Shook with a unnerved sensation and says, do you have anything that can help us travel between time dimensions?
Wait, what?
Okay.
I'm going somewhere with this, I promise.
Looks at
That escalated quickly.
Even
Now,
like
let me
Ishwar
see,
can't control
Tyrus.
his strange look.
Would you like me to create something for you that facilitates visions, passage to the spirit plane?
I am looking to revisit points in time that intersect.
So yes.
Very well, I'll
That
tell
would-
you what
that'd
I'll
be
do.
a yes.
He hands you another one of his cards, the previous one he had given to Victor. Contact me in a day's time. I'll have something for you. Something special. You seem to be the only one who appreciates my artistry. You know, not all spice is just illicit drugs. Some is pharmaceutical grade. Things that well, let's just say my inventions could help a great number of people just as much as it helps the street trade. I have to be
Obviously,
going.
you're an artist with an unlimited palette.
And as you gaze down at the case that you handed him with a variety of different colors and compounds in there, you can tell that there's quite a list of possibilities. He says, I'll send you an inventory list of the things that I provide, and you can contact me with what you'd like. As for your special custom job, I can do that too. And he snaps his finger, and the panthers break off. The one spits out the droid head, and his tail kind of bats it, and it goes skittering along the floor. With like little ocular sensors are still kind of flickering.
Which Tyrus immediately grabs to bring back to Kip for spare parts.
I was about to say Ishwar would ask if we should bring that back.
Okay, yes. So you grab the head. You try and look at. Wait, you're gonna bend down and grab it yourself, Tyrus?
No, I'm going to kick it to the Wookiee, of course.
Wait, Ishwar's not in the
He's
room,
going
is
to
he?
carry it like a football, like a football. Excuse me.
Bayer, he kicks it to you to pick up.
Oh no, I just look at that. I don't know what you're trying to do here, Tyrus.
So Tyrus, somewhat harumphingly, actually picks up a droid head with just 2 fingers as if it's dripping something fluid.
It might, the spit on that creature.
Cat spittle.
It is like covered in a viscous, slick, nasty secretion.
My indignities will never end.
Get those rich hands dirty, my friend.
Okay, and Shuck makes his way out of the room, and the second he leaves the room...
Wait, hold on. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask him something.
Okay, you can catch him.
Why
He's
do you
walking out
guys
the door.
like the drug dealer so much? Like, why is this the guy you
Spice.
clean to?
He's a spice chemist. He's not a drug dealer.
No,
You're
Ratio
talking.
is a
You're
spice.
talking to Walter White here. Come on.
Dude, he wanted us to, like, hunt that poor alien race whose nest we invaded.
Is it
to,
Walter White or
steal
Captain
their
Cook?
freaking larvae's food.
This would be a
bad
Walter
man.
White, not a chili pea
This
or
is a
whatever.
bad
Chili
man.
pea.
Walter White is a bad man.
Jensa, you're not in the room. Don't unduly influence the players.
Did you hear her
What are you going to
voice
say,
echo?
Bayer?
No, you seem to know a lot of people. By any chance, do you know a dashing Duquesne?
As you say that, you see him kind of shoot you a glance, and he says, "Keep your mouth down, please, Mr. Duquesne. Do you know who it is you're asking about?"
I know very little about him, but I know that I need to speak with him.
Well, let's just say this so that you don't embarrass yourself in public. He's considered to be the boogeyman, someone you don't go asking about or talking about in public forum. He's a high-ranking captain in the Black Sun. And he happens to spend a lot of time on Nar Shaddaa because of his association with a particular Khajiitic. Business arrangements are tied up with Glebo the Hutt and the Basadi Khajiitic. He likes to hang out in the casino. That's probably the only place you'll find him accessible. You can't miss him. He's a Zeltron. Have you ever seen a Zeltron?
I have not.
Well, imagine the most beautiful male or female that you've ever seen. Paint them a shade of red, and that's what they look like. They exude pheromones. People just tend to respond to them. You won't miss him. I will say, he is a cultured individual, and he responds to culture. Do not let him see you as base or unworthy. And certainly don't attempt to intimidate him, for he earned his name for a reason.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Be safe, as he walks out the door.
So, free samples, pays on time, and polite. I don't see any downside to this guy.
Did you add the credits, Tyrus?
I did.
Okay, alright, so you got your credits. And you're standing in the hangar bay.
Well, not easy.
Anybody want to go to the casino?
Jensen
Actually,
made it seem like this was going to be a problem.
Well, I think we're all going to meet at Jolly Slumwares.
Kip wants to go because Jagasan never let him go.
Well, hold on. Let's think about this.
Who's
Right now,
what?
Kip is still on the ship, correct?
Correct. Kip is on the ship.
I was
As
gonna
is
swing back
Jensa.
for Kip. No, actually, I left. So
You went on a shopping spree.
yeah.
I think the Wookiee and Bior and I are definitely headed for Jolly's on our way to rendezvousing because the casino is calling to me. There's something about this place I remember. That is where we're going to find people that may be able to make us offers. We need funds. We need opportunities.
We're joining the mercenary contest. If you guys remember, while we're here, there's a contest going on.
Oh, that.
Yeah, it has. A
Oh,
big
and I
reward.
may not
That's
have-
what I was going to check out.
I may not have clarified, just so you know, you have arrived roughly mid-morning, and the opening ceremonies for the expo are tomorrow morning. So you have the remainder of the day
I'm signing
and
up.
night.
I'm signing us up. That's where I was going. I just happened to shop. I'm shopping while I'm out, but that's where I'm heading.
But Jen,
Okay.
so we can also size up the competition. Everyone who's anyone will be coming to the casino tonight to show off. So I think some revealing robes may be in order.
Oh, and
For
Tyrus,
me.
having been there before, the Delcino Grand has a dress code. The Von Donner family has a running tab there, let's say, and you would know that you would need what is considered to be formal attire to even enter.
I
Well,
also
I have
realize the
fancy
Wookiee will be
sombrero.
hard to fit into a tux, but everyone is going to have to be suitably impressive.
Oh, I clean up good.
Well, we'll have to talk about that when we're actually all in the same place. I'm going to go
Does not.
check out the contest.
Okay, so that's where Jens is going. Tyrus, are you going straight to the casino in the daytime? Are you doing other things? Are you joining Jensa?
I think we're all going to. We were planning on rendezvousing at Jolly's and then going to the casino, but if we can communicate that we've all completed our tasks.
I mean, I might be done by the time you're done because I was doing this while you were doing that. So we could just meet
So-
early somewheres, or you can text me.
I would say that Bior and Ishwar and I are headed to some formal wear shops to tighten up our look for the evening.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Just gonna get a bow tie and that's it.
Top hat.
What about the rest of you?
Get your fur coiffed.
Well-
I'm offering to let Leto go. I mean, Leto's coming with me. I would offer for Kip. I'm like, you want to come with me?
Well, Kip and Jensa need to come, and again, everyone has got to be presentable. Tonight, we have to make an important statement about who we are as a group.
So, Kip would like to, yes, he would like to go because after they figure out that they're not going to have to fix the hull, Kip would like to at least spend an hour fixing the strain. He can do that with fine tuning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You actually, there's a damage control ability that you're allowed to do once per encounter that you can repair strain with.
Yeah, I can do more than when I'm reducing the amount of strain. I have something called fine tuning. When reducing the amount of strain of a starship or vehicle, I reduce one additional strain per rank of fine tuning, and I have one. So
And by the way, that would be a trivial difficulty for you. I mean, you'd be able to do that with a easy mechanics check.
okay, so let's see. And then easy, which is 2.
One purple dice.
Oh, 1 purple dice. How do we get rid of this again?
What's that?
So you want?
Oh, no, okay.
Selected
Sorry.
dice.
Mechanics. 1 purple dice.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so normally, although it might take you an hour, you finish that task in about 5 minutes.
Okay, so basically he's catching us just as we're leaving too.
I'm like, I'm ready.
All right, come on. We're gonna go enter this contest, or at least see what the rules are. And
We're gonna go shopping, right? Because
Yeah. I've got your
Okay.
list. I handed you
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay,
Jensa
good.
and Kip are headed towards the registration area. The rest of you
And
are...
Lido, right?
Oh, and Lido.
You lead us with a.
The rest of you are headed to Clothes Shop, right?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
going to begin with suiting up, yes.
Okay, so as you kind of are walking out, essentially we have two separate groups here between the party. The Jensa, Lido,
Yeah,
Kip,
I was
Kip
gonna
group.
go do the mercenary stuff while they were talking to the skeezy drug dealer.
So as you guys are walking, you leave Opulus Spaceport, and you're just sort of taking in the sights of the city. It's probably been a while since you've been to such a populated area. Not to mention the glamour of it and the gawk a little bit at the expensive vehicles and people dressed well and high-end designer stores.
Is looking at all of this through a very, very dark green pair of jaded sunglasses.
And Tyrus is saying, don't gawk.
Well, you're not with me.
No, I'm saying it to my own party.
Okay, so I want everybody who's in Jensa's current group, which is Jensa, Lido, and Kip. I want you to make a hard vigilance check, please.
Okay. And the hard is 3,
Oh
right?
my.
Hard is 3.
I'm not good at vigilance.
What is?
I think I have something.
Ah!
What are they?
Oh, excuse me.
What
It's
is-
a hard vigilance check with one black dice because you're distracted by all the glitz.
Don't you have nobody's fool, Jensen?
Okay, so
Danger
that's
sense
3
gives me
threats from me.
Sense danger for you, Jensa, I think.
Yeah.
No failures, at least.
You've all gone blind temporarily.
Okay, so everyone has rolled a failure with varying
I
degrees
get
of threats.
to bring it down, like actual character sheet is. I get a minus to.
Oh, your keen
I
eye.
get to lower their.
You get to
And
remove
then I
the
get
black
a boost
dice.
from danger sense. I get to remove the black dice and a boost from danger sense. I get
So
a
it's
boost.
3 purple dice and 1 blue dice. Go ahead and roll that. They are counting on your keen eyes.
So it's 3 purple dice and 1 blue.
Yep. Okay, so you rolled no success but 2 advantage. So you guys are just sort of looking around and enjoying the sights, and something kind of hits the ground over to your right. And before you can even process what it is, Kip and Lido, your brain just can't put together what's going on. Jensa, although you didn't notice this falling since you rolled 2 advantage, I'm going to give you a sort of instant reaction to what's going on. Your brain clicks that this is actually some form of grenade or
I'm
explosive.
throwing myself on Kip.
So the last thing that you do as you kind of hear the timer going off is you leap on top of Kip and cover him with your body as the explosion goes off. And as you do, like, people are screaming and shouting all over the place. There's chaos. A few people fly off the side of the walkway down into the abyss of the lower levels of the
This
skyway.
wasn't aimed for us, right? This was just.
It landed right next to your feet, so it
Well,
presumably was aimed for you. Your head is ringing. You can't see anything. By the way, all of you have suffered 8 wounds reduced by soak, so you apply that as needed. So minus out your soak and apply the damage to your wounds.
Do I shield Kip of any of his damage?
Yes, actually, Kip, you take half damage due to Jensa shielding you.
So 4. Oh, wow. So thank you, Jensa. I take no damage because I have Ahsoka 4.
And Jensa, you, due to your advantage, you get to roll a free perception check to assess where that came from. The other two of you are too disoriented.
Did you put my wounds in for me, Al?
Wounds are on your combat tab.
What was the damage? I'm sorry.
It's a total of 8 damage. So account for your soak and add the So take your soak out of that and apply the damage to your character sheet. Jensa, it's on your combat tab of your character sheet. Jensa, I'm also allowing you to make a average difficulty perception check with 1 black dice.
Okay, and nothing factors into that under this circle.
Keen Eye doesn't factor into that?
Does it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Keen Eye you get to remove a black dice from perception or vigilance. Yeah. So it's just an average perception check. Your prior experience and your hyper acuity in most dangerous situations makes it so that you instantly can drown out the distractions, and you roll 1 success as you get off of Kip, and even though your head is ringing and you hear this like horrible tinnitus in your ears, and you look around you and it's like everything's kind of moving in slow motion for a second as you see people bleeding and screaming. Like a number of people were injured by this, and some of the storefront displays are damaged and people are shouting and running. You look up onto the rooftop of the building right above you, and you see a cloaked figure with yellow eyes gleaming as he is looking down upon you. And
is it anyone I would recognize from that gang?
You recognize the cloak. You've seen it before. It belongs to a murder bot. However, all of a sudden, you see him. You know that he was headed here to begin with for the same reason that you were. In fact, that's why you came here. He actually drops the cloak and uncovers his head, and strangely enough, he looks just like Victor. So you see a bunch of people looking up at the building and pointing, and they seem to see him, and he stands there on the edge and lets everyone look at him for a moment. And he clearly looks exactly like Victor.
I'm gonna yell out, it's a holocron droid.
And you see like a snicker on the guy's face above as he turns and he starts to run.
Ow. Kip, are you okay? I'm gonna check Kip out.
Yes, I don't think I'm hurt, but what's happening?
That fucking murder bot just tried to frame Victor and threw a grenade at us. Fuck!
I'm also fine.
I'm hurt. I'm getting up.
Are you chasing him or letting him go?
I'm going to chase him.
What about the rest of you?
I followed. Oh, go ahead.
I would follow while citing that this is likely an ambush and we should not be provoked so easily.
Right.
being a war analyst. I follow and I send a voice message over the holonet to the others that Crate tried to blow us up. He looks like Victor. That's what I say.
He pulled up a holographic image over himself. I add.
By the way, I'm going to add while you guys are talking that the local law enforcement authorities are beginning to converge upon this position. And you see them as they are driving up, they're just detaining everyone. They're just grabbing everybody and throwing them into...
Can we get out of it?
You can run and chase him, or you can run elsewhere, but staying here, you're going to be detained.
I don't want to get detained. Yeah. I would rather get out of this situation as quickly as possible. I understand Victor's probably going to get blamed, but nobody's probably going to believe me that I am the one person that actually saw that it was a droid trying to frame my friend. Doesn't seem like it's going to go over well, so... Can I attempt anything like a survival check, or actually Streetwise would probably be the proper skill? Quick, let's try to get out of here. Try to lead the group out of here to safety as best I can.
If you're letting him escape, if you're following him, it's going to be a contested chase, so it's going to be athletics check to keep up with him. If you're going to let him get away and just try and hide, you would make, a couple things would probably work, but I would allow either survival or streetwise.
I think we're gonna let him go for now, correct? Group?
Your choice. We're running after you. So you choose.
This is not the time to deal with that thing. I mean, he did take out a Jedi Master, even if he used poison to do it. He is going to get his, but I think we need to do it as a group. So I will just use survival to get us the heck out of Dodge for now.
Okay, go ahead and roll survival. It is just average difficulty. Okay, you rolled 4 successes and an advantage. So you are able to skillfully slip your way out of the area as, I don't want to call, they're not police, but the local law enforcement of various mercenary types are kind of just collecting people and throwing them into vehicles for questioning. You managed to slip away. And where are you headed to?
Well, I still need to sign us up for this stupid contest, so can I possibly wrap myself up as best as possible? My poor coat. I think we should get to our teammates, but I still want to try to get us enrolled in this contest before they cut it off, because we don't know when the cutoff time is.
Okay, so you start to make your way towards the registration area. It's easy to find because of the... everywhere in the city, you're seeing banners all over the place for what is called the BAMF Expo, BAMF, which stands for Bounty Association and Mercenary Federation. They're two different groups. The Bounty Association is just sort of represents, essentially called the Pan-Galactic Bounty Association, but they represent all the bounty hunting guilds as sort of their governing body. And the Mercenary Federation is similar. It's just a governing body of mercenary groups for hire. And this is their yearly expo. And it sort of kicks off the beginning of the Great Hunt for the year, which is kind of like a bounty hunter Super Bowl, really. It's like they all... there's a lot of fanfare. You can see on various banners ads for different... I don't want to say ads, but sort of... the way that you would see an athlete on a Gatorade ad. They're just sort of the fame of the person is there to garner attention in the populace, and they all have sort of stage names. They're almost like superheroes or rock stars. They've got a real name, and then they have their character names, and so you kind of see you definitely see the most prominent. One represented is someone named Blackhawk, who's kind of in this gleaming black sort of high-tech armor, with a jump pack and rocket launchers on it and stuff. So you see his picture everywhere. Apparently he was the winner of the previous year Great Hunt. You see a mention of Stiletto. It's this very glamorous looking woman in all black straps and leather with all these knives attached to her everywhere. You see another group of these 4 little diminutive Urgnaughts, which are kind of like a piggish-looking small race, and there's a group of 4 of them, and they're all depicted in various stages of action on this banner, and they're called the Undertakers. And so you see all these characters that are being advertised, and you make your way towards the arena, which you can see is called Squidge Arena, seemingly named after a company.
Is this where they play football?
You don't know. But this particular arena is probably a multi-use facility, and it's named after a company called Squidge Adhesives. They've sponsored it, obviously. And you see signs for the Great Hunt registration, BAMF Expo registration, as you kind of make your way there. And as you do, you kind of see the figure of Victor trotting along the roof, and he's just watching you running alongside, comfortably out of harm's way from you, but he's keeping pace with you guys. And you see him...
I'm gonna peg him to Leto, subtly as possible.
And he stops as Leto looks up at him, and you could tell he's interested in Leto in particular, as he's never met him before. Right, and you see him freeze for a moment, and he locks eyes with you, Leto, and he smiles for a minute.
He hasn't seen Kip before either. I'm surprised he recognizes me.
He's seen Kip.
I interacted with him like once.
Oh, he has never seen Kip, has he?
No, he's never seen Kip. I'm the only one in that group he would have met.
He's a droid, though, so...
Yeah, he's particularly interested in Leto, and you can see, Jensa, you might recall this, but he has a fascination for stealing technology from things and incorporating them into himself. I'm gonna also whisper to Leto, be very careful, that droid likes to scrap other droids for parts.
Therefore, but a program goes on.
And as he's watching you, you see him pull out another frag grenade, and he looks down at the crowd below him, and he just
the group of mercenaries.
Yeah, he just tosses it into the open crowd beneath, and then blows you a kiss.
Holy fuck! Crap! I don't have move. Does anybody, Kip? You hiding any Jedi powers that could help with this?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Leto, you want to shoot that grenade before it hits the ground? Oh, please shoot it and hit the damn droid.
I'm more melee oriented.
Fuck it, I'm pulling my gun out and shooting the damn frag grenade. Saying grenade!
Okay, so you scream it out, and so you're gonna make kind of a called shot. So in this case,
force push or something.
Nobody has move in this group.
Sigh. No, because I haven't. I've spent I want to get it at some point. I just haven't gotten to it.
So your trigger finger, Jensa, you're quick on the draw. Due to your, I'm gonna say due to your background with having prescience of situations, I'm gonna give you a boost dice to this roll. But you're gonna be making a hard ranged light check to hit this grenade in midair before it hits the ground.
Can I use a force point?
You can use one of the destiny points, sure.
Yes. What is that? It gives me a boost, right?
It actually lets you upgrade your roll, so you click the green plus, which will increase your proficiency.
Turns greens to yellows, and if you don't have any greens, it gives you.
All right. Wish me luck.
Yes!
Nice. 3 success and a threat. Wow. So first of all,
if I could shoot it in proximity to this motherfucker, that'd be better. So if it knocks him off, his smirk off his face, I'll be quite happy.
Okay, so first of all, you flip your blaster out without even thinking, just because you're very trigger happy as it is. So this is like right up your alley.
I do yell grenade.
You scream grenade, you flick your gun out, like you just sort of flip it up into your hand and take a shot, and it connects instantly, detonating it in midair, by the way, before it hurts anyone. And the explosion kind of gets everybody's attention, and they're kind of looking around to see where it came from, and they look back in your direction and see the gun in your hand. And you see a bunch of people pointing at you. And before you can react, you see the figure who was above on the roof kind of running off further away. And he seems to be heading towards a apartment building that is adjacent to the arena.
Well, we're with a bunch of sharp-eyed mercenaries, so I can't be the only person in the freaking room that saw that go down right. So I'm going to yell, right there, he threw a grenade, as I holster my weapon.
I also did say I was recording him. Can I just project?
Yeah,
you were. I'm just going to go ahead and put my hands in the air, because we're in hut space, and I don't need the cartel hunting me down, and my droid has been recording, so he's got his little green light blinking, so I know we're good.
So you see a bunch of sort of decked out soldier types kind of surround you, and your hands are up and your gun is holstered. Yep. So they don't really like take a hostile tone with you, but they say you're being questioned. What the hell was that? What happened? Why was your gun drawn? And
the droid
Leto
recorded the whole thing. The thing that just threw the frag grenade in the plaza, we chased it, It's a droid with a hologram over it. I got a good look at it before it threw the first one. We were chasing it. The droid got the whole thing on tape.
And Leto, you can easily just display
digital,
it
actually.
if you choose to.
I do.
You just can activate your large central ocular sensor and project it, and in a mere 3 minutes, they are satisfied by the recording. And they say, if you'll please accompany us, we're going to bring you to the League of Champions. There will be some questions.
That's not a problem at all, but do you know how much time we have to sign up for this contest? Because that's kind of... No. You know, never mind. I'll just follow you.
He says, don't worry. This is where you go to sign up to begin with.
Oh, good. Well, that's useful. Yeah, any chance I can get a stim pack? I say as we walk.
He ignores you. But they bring you into this sort of large building that is adjacent to Squidge Arena. And it's marked as registration. It's sort of like the convention center part of the arena. And you get walked in, and you skip through the line upon line upon lines of people. I'd just like to throw out there on behalf of Victor, who's not here, LineCon. But anyway, you walk right past LineCon, and you are moved into the back area where there's sort of like elevated tables, and you see a bunch of figures around these tables. The first one you instantly recognize is the same lady's face who was depicted as Stiletto on some of the banners. You see the guards kind of walk up to her and lean forward and kind of whisper something to him, and point to you, Leto. And the lady sits up straight, and you see a brown-haired woman, extremely elegant, very beautiful, very lithe and muscled too, like kind of thin and slim and muscled. She's in very tight-fitting black leather outfit, very generous on straps and buckles and things, and lots of small knives tucked in every possible place. And she points to you, Leto, and she says, "Step forward."
Leto does.
What is your designation, droid?
L3T-0.
Welcome, L3T-0. You are amongst the League of Champions, the most decorated hunters of this galaxy. I understand that there was an incident out front of the facility.
That is correct. I have a visual recording of all events that transpired.
And she looks to her right and left, and she looks at her other council members. And you, quick survey of the area, you see there seems to be a Skakoan, which is, they're like a race that kind of housed in an armor. You don't actually see the look of his face. It's kind of a fully armored alien race. They rely on a rebreather in their armor to survive because they don't do well in this kind of atmosphere. You see a Kyuzo, who's kind of like a reptilian, kind of grayish alien that has kind of a triangular, almost Raiden-like hat from what's that game called?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat, thank you, yes. You see another who is a Melito. They're kind of like this insectoid-looking thing that has all these chitinous plates and little cilia attached to them. And then lastly, there is another insect. There's a wolf-like character called a Shistavenin. And he's basically like a wolfman. And you don't know their names or who they are. They don't introduce themselves, but they all turn and nod, and they allow you to play the recording. And as it completes to their satisfaction, you see the lady speak up. "Thank you, Leto. I think we have enough to adequately exonerate you of any guilt. My name is Lady Viviana McGinty. I am known as Stiletto. I am currently the head of the Bounty Association. I understand from my guards here that you are looking to enter the contest."
We are, but I feel it's important to note that's a droid with a holocron. We had a run-in with it on another moon, and I guess it just decided to start throwing grenades at us in a crowd. It's highly defective and extremely dangerous. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know the name of this droid?
Yeah, I'll give her the name. I tell her I can actually clip some data of him if you would like. He's a complete mess, this thing.
She looks and says, interesting. He's something of a legend. The gentleman known as Crate, if you choose to call him that, we've never known his identity. We know that he is the head of the Shrouded Bane, but few have seen his true form. You argue that he is a droid?
Crate is a droid, yes.
Any idea what brings him to our event?
I don't know, it's just complete happenstance that we ran into him here. We're, mercenaries ourselves.
Jensa, you're gonna have to actually make a, deception check for that, because that is a known untruth on your part.
Well, I mean, it's not technically an untruth. I actually don't know why he came here.
You may not remember, but your character knows, because previously in other games, in other sessions, Victor, in your presence, has come, due to his investigation, to a conclusion that in Crate's personal things was an advertisement for this event, and that was the very reason you...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, then I would have said he's here to enter the contest, to the best of my knowledge.
Interesting. We've had no contestants enter under that name. So you're unclear what he seeks here.
I have no idea why his interest would be in the contest. No.
Not to fear, we have some of the finest investigators anywhere in the galaxy here. We'll figure out what he's up to. So
this
tell
creature
me.
is a menace, and obviously doesn't mind throwing grenades at your citizens. I will assist you in any way we can.
She seems unconcerned. We can handle the likes of him. Now, tell me, what is it that draws you to enter? You're not bounty hunters by trade, are you?
Well, I've been in the smuggling racket for a long time. I've got a good crew right now, and I figured it was time to branch out on my own.
And the rest of you?
Good.
You don't look much like hunters to me.
This is my ship's engineer, and this is our protocol droid, and the rest of our crew is elsewhere, enjoying the wonders that this city has to offer, I say with charms.
So you seek to enter as a group?
Yes.
Well, forgive me for saying so, but this is a time-honored and venerable trade, and it is not for hobbyists. To be a successful bounty hunter, she kind of keeps talking to stifle your speech, and says, to be a successful bounty hunter, you not only have to be a cunning warrior, but you have to be an extremely intelligent investigator. Although the thrill of the hunt attracts some, most of it is pursuit and research and patience. If you possess... Yes,
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, can I now roll, as she's saying that, roll a perception check and then just state several investigatory facts about her just to prove our skill?
Absolutely. I will allow you to make... you could either make a core worlds check or a... I'm going to say it's actually core worlds for this. And it would be average difficulty.
Okay. Wish me luck.
Look.
You rolled 3 successes and an advantage, so you instantly begin spouting out before she can even start talking again. Lady Viviana McGinty, known by her trade name of Stiletto, has been in the bounty hunting industry for the last 7 years. You recount every success, every mark that she's taken down, including some of her more newsworthy and famous marks. You know and recite out loud to her that she is an Alderaanian noble who, after the destruction of her world, was elected as head of the Bounty Association. Probably generally considered to be a sympathy vote. You say that out loud, but it's not meant to be disrespectful. However, she has proven herself time and time again to take down some of the most elusive of prey. And she looks at you for a moment and says, "Yes, L3T0, very good. So I see you're capable of gathering information and using it to process for your goals, but do you have the prowess to hunt some of the most dangerous people in the galaxy?"
L3 just redoes the recording of Jensa shooting the grenade out of midair, sparing everybody down.
Hope that droid if you were in the
Nice.
parent company.
By the way, you get a free boost dice to anything you want for after that, because that was clever. So she says, "Point well taken. Well then, I will break our usual rule. Typically, we don't allow entrants who are not card-carrying members of a bounty guild. In this case, however, there are exceptions. Our bylaws stipulate that if you can either summon up a $50,000 entrance fee or find a corporate sponsor to do so for you, all you have to do is prove yourself in the arena events tomorrow, and you will be granted the ability to become one of our 25 entrants to this contest."
When do we need to have a sponsor by?
By tomorrow morning.
All right,
At 10
sounds
a.m.
good.
sharp is the opening ceremony of the Banff Expo in Squidge Arena, in which we will be showcasing some of our most famous hunters, as well as conducting various games. It will mark the beginning of the ongoing competitions.
I will be texting Geleth before we leave the room.
So all of a sudden
About
you
corporate
see
sponsors.
the Skakoan kind of like robot armor guy, like, and so he's like dialing some things on the front of his armor because he obviously uses some kind of vocoder to speak. And at first it's coming out as a garbled mess, but as he kind of adjusts the dials, it's like a robotic voice kind of comes out to something intelligible. And he says, "I object. We don't know these people. This is highly irregular, and we'll come under scrutiny." And Stiletto looks at him and says, "Buck, please. You're always so slow to trust. Our friends here have saved us from a catastrophe not right outside our front door. How embarrassing do you think it would have been to have 20 people die right in the opening ceremony of the exposition?"
At your competitors, it does point out a big flaw in security, too. It doesn't look good for whoever's running the security outfit around here. I'm going to try a charm check to kind of like help her make her case to him.
Okay, make a average difficulty charm check, please.
I will use
Hey.
supporting fact.
And I'll even pitch him the hey, and we've got the underdog angle. Everybody loves that story.
And add an extra boost dice for,
Just
that, for that justification.
From a marketing standpoint, we just made a heck of an entrance. Blah blah blah.
Okay, so you roll 3 success and 2 threat. So
And now
as
they're
you
gonna have my picture everywhere.
as you say that, Lady Viviana nods, and then the Kyuzo guy with the sort of Raiden style hat. He's kind of this bipedal humanoid with blue-green skin and has yellow eyes, and he's wearing a respirator. He kind of slams the table and very boisterously says, "Here, here, I like these guys already." And Lady Viviana says, "Yes, Kazeth, thank you, we appreciate it."
And you've got video.
And she says, "Well, apparently you've won over the Pistolier. What say you, Etho?" And Ecthoplank, the Melito, the guy with all the cilia and chitinous plates, he looks kind of insectoid, and he doesn't really have eyes, but all those little cilia kind of are constantly like dancing and flittering around all over his arms and neck and head, and they're kind of ostensibly sensing things around them, like scents and vibrations and things. And he seems like much more of a quiet character and a thinker, and he nods slowly and says, "I'll allow it." And then the last one in the corner, the Wolfman, Shistavinen, it's hard to say that for me for some reason, Garada, he slams the table and growls for a moment. He's got black fur all over him, and one of his eyes is cybernetic, and you can kind of see all these various ornate braids all up and down his mane, and he's got vicious sharp claws and teeth. And he's sitting like, the rest of the group is sitting in like this even semicircle, and he's like 4 seats over by himself, like oddly separated from the rest of them. And he growls for a minute and doesn't really say anything, but then he just nods. And he stands up and turns and he walks away from the table. And Lady Viviana says, well, it's decided then. Come up with the sponsor or the credits by tomorrow. Show up at the ceremony. You will have a challenge. But if you pass it, you'll be one of the contestants for this particular great hunt this year. Treat it with respect. This profession is looked upon with venerability amongst those who are in our trade.
I thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully my crew and I won't let you.
She nods and she signals to one of the attendants who come over, and he says, okay, so to enter, I'm going to need a group name.
Okay, guys, out of character real quick. I like Aldo's Raiders. I like Aldo's Raiders because it's half Kin's idea, and Aldo was the Jedi that got us all together.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, using a Jedi, like, they know she was a Jedi? Like how prominent of a Jedi was her? That's
I don't
what
think
guess.
she was particularly prominent. She was like a telepath, though. We don't think she was particularly
Like,
prominent.
would she be
She was
known
Master
by the-
Nguyen's Padawan. She's like Master Nguyen's apprentice.
Alright, good with it.
Sounds good.
So Aldo's
so-
Raiders.
He says, oh, okay, good name, and he types it down on the data pad, and he says, how many are in your group?
8. I think that's right? Leto, Tyrus, Bior, Jinsa, Kip, Ishwar. Oh, yeah, 7.
Okay, and approximately what are your individual skills?
I am a tracker ranged combatant. Kip is
good,
a
yes.
mechanical engineer. Ishwar is a Wookiee. I say as if that's a job title.
This tail is
you.
a good creature.
You got a Wookiee, that's fantastic.
Bior is a what's your race, Bior? Sorry.
Mary Allen?
He's
Close
a
combatant.
Marianan close combatant. Tyrus is our team brains, and he is immune.
Stylist.
And Leto is our companion droid. Nice.
Analyst.
And analyst.
And
Let's
Victor is our computer and HoloNet specialist.
Okay, very good. Well, this is a fine group. I will enter this into the registry and merely show up roughly 10 a.m. tomorrow. We will have the kickoff ceremonies. Please report to the judges' station on the ground level, and we will arrange for everything.
Thank you. I am now, once the minute we're heading out the door, I'm going to say to Kip, I'm going to go ahead and text Gil and see if he'll sponsor us. He's got a company, right?
By the way, as you walk out,
Mr.
Jensa,
Hawk does, yes.
you see Lady Viviana McGinty eyeing you from across the room with a coy smile. She seems to be appreciative of the way you conducted yourself.
I give her a charming wink.
And as you're about to walk out of the room, Jensa, you suddenly, your vision blacks out completely, and it's as if you're seeing something through a third-party view's eyes. By the way, Leto, when you're walking out, you see Jensa just freeze as she leaves the room, and you look at her, and the whites of her eyes are showing. Like, you can't see her pupils, and it's like her eyes rolled up in the back of her
Kip
head
would
or
know
something.
what was going on if Leto doesn't.
And you see her actually start to fall backwards as if she's going to hit the ground.
Wait. Jensen's falling backwards?
And you can just
Yeah.
see the white. My
Her,
people.
her eyes have whited
Oh, yeah.
over, and she stood for a second, but she's not attending to her surroundings, and she's just starting to fall backwards.
Kip see me have-
Yeah. Kip screams to L3. He's like, "Help! She's gonna faint!" And he tries to scoop her out.
Okay. Just make a no difficulty dice athletics check, please.
Athletics. Okay.
As you do that, Jensa, your vision kind of blacks out for a moment, and you see. Okay, so they managed to catch you as you fall backwards, although you don't know that at the time. You see the inside of a luxury apartment. You can tell the glass is broken. You kind of hear like echoed sounds of what happened. You hear like glass shattering. You hear someone screaming, kind of like a male, kind of gurgly, kind of male voice. And you suddenly see a vision of Victor holding up this Selkath guy. A Selkath is an amphibious race that is native to the planet Manon. And they kind of have like a very long kind of snout with almost like a manta ray style skin. I mean, it's very slick looking, and you don't see very many of them around typically. They keep to themselves on their world at this particular time in history. But this guy's a Selkath, and Victor has a fist outstretched with seemingly incredible strength, holding this Selkath over the edge of the balcony. And you hear them.
The droid again?
It looks like Victor, as far as you can tell. You do see a cloak on him, similar to what you saw earlier.
Just the droid.
And he's holding the Selkath, and there's some kind of interchange extracting information. And the Selkath pulls out a data pad, like desperate to save his own life. And as he hands it to the droid, who puts it in his cloak, the droid just takes his arm, and you see like right out of Victor's arm just a long sharp stiletto like blade kind of flick out from nowhere, so you can tell it's like a hologram depicting Victor's face and body. The same knife that you saw sunk into Master Nguyen's stomach, he takes it and just flicks it quickly across the guy's throat as his jugular is opened up, and he releases the body off over the side of the balcony, and it falls down hundreds of feet. And then as your vision kind of comes back to, you wake up and Kip is holding you.
We gotta get to the group, I say.
What happened?
I explain, since you just heard it too, I'm just explain word for word as best as possible what I just saw. And we gotta figure out where the heck Victor is. I'm gonna text Victor too.
Yes.
But as we're like, I'm gonna...
Let's call it hollow message, so we don't sound like
I will
millennials.
hollow message.
Okay, so you kind of
some of
hollow
us
message.
are millennials. I am technically a millennial. I am like the first year of them.
Fair enough. At least you'll be a Star Wars millennial. Okay, so you kind of hollow message, and what are you saying to him?
To Victor or Gilith?
Whomever you were calling just now.
Victor, where the fuck are you? That murder bot's running around with your face. Call me back.
After waiting a suitable amount of time, you get no response.
And then I'm going to also hollow message Gilith. Hey, I need a corporate sponsor so we can enter this contest. And I attach the flyer to it.
Oh, and tell him that I upgraded Remus, and I have some ideas about how to make different chassis or different programs for different markets.
I add a little bit of that to the text too, but we're as best as possible as we're kind of like moving through town.
And before you can even finish texting, you suddenly hear this like horribly ghastly scream, and everybody's looking around to see where it came from as the body of a Selkath male falls and hits the pavement from hundreds of feet up and just sort of detonates. I mean, there's just blood and gore like everywhere. He's splattering all over people around him, and everybody's screaming.
Why does this fucking always happen to me?
The same janitor who's cleaning up after Mace Windows Transfer to Narshadan.
Okay, so yeah, so there's that. And actually, you don't get any response from Geleth at the moment.
Okay. Well,
Like you see the little marks, like he's typing a response and then kind of deleting it, and the marks go away, and you're kind of watching, and it seems like he's trying to figure out what to say, but he does, and then it just like no response for the moment.
I'm gonna run to, or basically get us all together again and tell everybody everything that happened in the bar or at the ship or wherever. But I've got a toddler alert, so I'll be right back.
Okay, so
Just basically,
everybody.
Jinsa explains everything that happens. I'll let you guys start talking. I'll be back soon.
So you guys make your way to Jolly Somewheres, trying to find your partners again. And as you come in, Tyrus and Bior and Ishwar are already there, getting drinks at the bar. But you walk into this place, and this is pretty like happening joint here. There's probably a good 100 people here. It's kind of like a nightclub, but there's a lot going on here. It's a nightclub, but there's some entertainment going on. In another area of the building, there's like what looks like it might be a coat check, but there's a droid there, and they seem to be selling things. Like there's some kind of merchanting going on here, and you see a guy kind of standing next to the bar. He is let me see if I can put him up there. He is a Basilisk. Now, granted, this is not him, this is just his race. But he is kind of a, got 4 arms. He's a big kind of burly guy. He's got a big pot belly. He's a little bit older, a little graying on the sides. He's wearing like the equivalent of a t-shirt with a very casual leather jacket, looking like a, I would say looking like a very informal kind of establishment owner, but he's clearly the owner because staff are coming up to him asking for things. He's got like a big gold chain around his neck, and he looks like back in his day he was kind of a slick character, but he's getting a little aged, so... And then you see Jensa and Leto and Kip walk in, and they look a little charred and a little blackened. Not to mention, on top of that, a little bit shaken.
What happened? Well, there's obvious scorch marks.
And Jensa relates the story in kind of a hurriedly, a little bit stressed out fashion of the attack on them, which you've heard like people already talking about a bombing today, a terrorist act and everything. And you've seen Victor's face on the Hollow News in the area, that he's wanted for questioning. So you had an idea something's up, but she kind of filled you guys in on the details of everything that happened, including the pursuit of Crate and the murder of the Selkath, and also your potential entrance into the Great Hunt.
L3 can provide video playback if necessary.
Be kind, please rewind.
Exactly.
Would a vigilance check at this point be sensible to see in this environment if there are any threats?
A perception check would be fine. You're actively perceiving something. Looking around, searching the clientele in the room. You're looking for danger, correct?
I'm looking for threats, but also for anyone we might recognize as having known before.
Okay, go ahead and make an average difficulty perception check.
2 purple.
There'll be a black dice for all the noise and din in the room as well.
But I get a keen eye. I can remove the black.
Okay, you have keen eye as well?
I'm also saying, by the way, I got frag grenaded, and I pull my jacket back where I'm shrapneled up.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Tyrus-
that doesn't look good.
Tyrus, you don't notice anything overtly dangerous. You see a lot of people just having a nice time, talking, drinking, enjoying company. You see a few people whose faces you've seen on banners that seem to be prominent famous people or bounty hunters that have little crowds around them, some sort of like holovids are being taken of them. People are doing selfies and stuff, and you can see the bar owner walk over and gesture, and he's giving like free rounds of drinks to these famous people.
So, of course, I'm going to walk right up to him.
To the bar owner.
Of course.
Is this before we were talking?
Tyrus is doing his own thing while you're talking to Bayor.
I'm
Sorry,
trying
just
to
trying to figure out
recognize who the alpha is in the room, basically.
Ishwar, of course.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. I mean,
His own special flavor.
You can tell that the bar owner is the guy in charge, but he does not come across as an alpha. He comes across as like everybody's favorite dude to talk to. Like, you get the impression that he's a pretty slick guy and he could be dangerous if he wants to, but the kind of thing, like, you wouldn't see it coming as overt display of machismo.
So, as Bayor and Jensa are talking, I might walk up to this individual and say, "Sir, do you have any particularly interesting Andorian brandies?"
And he looks at you for a second, and he was kind of talking to this buxom lady who was sitting on the chair, who was kind of like tickling his nose or something. And he turns and he says, "Hey, friend, welcome to my bar. What can I get you?"
Is he Scottish?
And he looks at you funny, like,
I couldn't help but admire the international breadth of your selections, not to mention the beauty of your companion. You're clearly a man who knows his way around.
Oh, you could say that. What's your name, fella? He extends, like, one of his four hands to you.
The name is Von Donnermune, Tyrus Von Donnermune.
And he looks at you for a second, and then he like looks at you like as if you're being serious, and then he just kind of laughs, and one of his other arms kind of claps you on the shoulder, like very hard to kind of jostle you, and he says, "Oh, you're a funny guy. You're too serious, pal. Let me get you a drink." And he like not like gestures his hand, and a lady comes over and brings like a form of ale to you.
Tyrus is, of course, unnerved and a little pissed off that he did not recognize the name. So clearly, this man has swum in a small pool.
He does not seem to recognize the name. But he perhaps, you kind of gather he's perhaps trying to hide that fact by distracting you with liquor.
That's partly what makes Tyrus on edge, because clearly this is a gambit.
And what can I do for you? I'm jolly.
We have business at the casino tonight.
Ooh, big roller, huh?
You could say, but as you can see, my companions, and I look at Jensa and her slightly singed aspect, we have need of a freshening up.
Oh, you need alcohol? What do you need? Women? I can get you women.
I look at Jensa and
Jensa, a
shake
salon. She needs to be like dunked in one of those tanks that you dunk droids in to get the like rust off them.
Oil bath. I did my research.
Sure. I can get you. I can hook you up with a salon.
And for the droids, a bit of droid polish, perhaps.
Oh, easy. Well, are you here for the competition?
I turn to Jensa and just give her the raised eyebrow.
Oh, is he looking at me from across the bar? Whatever he's looking at me for, I assume he's making some sort of deal or something, and I am a good, in case this whole Jedi thing doesn't work out, I'm gonna work for the Mune, so I just nod.
So I say to the barkeep, I believe my mother's people came from Mune space. Is there a small Devinger moon in this sector?
Devinger? You're a strange fellow. What are you talking about?
The Devingers. The Devingers. Have you no knowledge of the Devingers?
He says, yeah, I could tell you're a fancy lad. You don't have to put it across that hard. Listen, I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a regular guy, and I just get people what they need. It's hard to find out what you need. All you want to talk about are Devingers and shit.
I don't have the shopping list, sorry.
Well, I think we hammered that out on the way back, didn't we? Or we got it taken care of while we were out? So
I gestured over to Jensa to come to my side, because clearly this is a man that admires pulchritude.
Who is he talking to? We were just talking about Victor possibly... I'm sorry, just set the stage for you. We were talking about Victor possibly being kidnapped, and the droid's been throwing grenades at me. And
now this guy is leering at you from...
walked away from the conversation.
No, there's a guy that sounds a little bit like Shrek, who likes beautiful women, which I totally...
If Shrek was a New Yorker, what the...
Okay, it's Bronx Shrek. It's okay. Character choice. It's fine.
Is that lovely lady with you?
I just gesture over to Jensa, who sweeps over, and she senses that this is a man she can turn to her advantage with her unique charms.
Tyrus is done with this guy because he's suitably unfancy.
Seems
I don't know what Tyrus is doing over there, or why.
Neither does Tyrus, apparently.
Does anyone over there, like, I kind of look at the rest of you guys like, do we know the guy he's talking to? And then I'm look like, back. I look back at them, and I'm confused what Tyrus wants. So I do the flirty smile and the wiggle finger wave.
I just said to Jensa, he's after your lucky charms.
I look at you suspiciously.
Yeah, Jensa made a average charm check, so she got 4 successes. So Jolly looks over at you, Jensa, and he kind of walks a little past Tyrus, and he extends his arms, and he says, "What a lovely lady. I was talking to your friend here, and he's, I don't know. I'm Jolly. I own this establishment. I'm the guy around here who gets people what they need. You're welcome. I'll get you a drink. If you think of anything you need here, just let me know."
Oh, thank you. And I go to extend my arm, and I kind of hiss with my whole being grenaded. And say, sorry, I took some collateral damage in a terrorist attack on the promenade.
He's still smoking.
And he says, "Oh, what a sin." And he kind of like licks his finger and like rubs some of the... with his saliva, kind of like rubs some of the char smudge off your cheek.
Oh my god, this is disgusting. I'm totally gonna murder Tyrus in private.
And he says, "Please, I'll talk to one of my attendants and we'll get you some better clothes. We'll show you where you can buy some better clothes."
That would be really nice of you.
Are you here for the competition?
Tyrus confused. We are. We just need a sponsor.
Sponsor, huh?
Yeah. Anyone who wants to use us for advertising. We've actually got some really good clips of our team. I'm going to maybe this guy can afford to sponsor a team. He owns a bar. I'm going to foot kick Leto and say, show him the gun explodey thing.
Oh, okay. No business in the middle of the bar. Come here. Come into the back room.
Okay.
come into the back room.
Come on, Tyrus, I say, and I lock arms with him.
Jensen's going to the back room. I'm going to the back room.
Yeah,
The
you're
Wookiee
not leaving me
complains
alone.
that he's got to leave his drink. We're just gonna leave these here. So he
no.
grabs one of the ones that you guys haven't finished
I
drinking.
wanted to drag Bior into the bathroom and make him kill me.
Is her outfit singe in a suitably
Yes, I got
provocative
burned.
manner to
I
enhance
threw
her charm?
myself on Kip.
Just over one breast. It's very attractive, actually.
It makes me
She's
look
got nipple
vulnerable.
soot.
And that is vulnerable.
Okay,
like that whole,
hashtag
like-
too soon. Too soon.
It's like that whole like
Hashtag nipple
Hollywood chick that was in an explosion thing. You know, my makeup still somehow miraculously.
Oh, yeah,
perfect.
exactly.
None of my hair was burned. None of my hair was burned. It's just like out of place in all the right ways. You know what I'm talking about?
Just one tendril. A tendril carefully.
It's like, you know, hanging in my face now, and I look flushed, and my lips are red from the burn marks, but in a sexy way that makes them look more pouty. I don't know. Yeah, nothing.
Not the ideal backroom opportunity.
So as you guys make your way into the back room,
My tank top, my midriffs explode from the explosion. I've got like perfect little diagonal line cuts on my stomach from shrapnel.
you kind of go into this back room area, and there's a few guards in front that he kind of waves away. They kind of look like thugs, and you guys walk in. He closes the door. It's like his desk in there, and there's like, you know, some pictures of like women, with busty women, like with kind of things you imagine hanging up in like a garage or something, you know, just like a calendar of all the hot Twi'lek babes and things like that. And he's got like trophies from boxing competitions and things he's entered and stuff. And you know, his first, you know, credits
Twi'leks on speedsters.
his first credits that he ever earned, opening the bar, and he's shaking like pictures of him shaking hands with some dignitaries and things like
The
that.
ladies of pod racing.
And, yeah, exactly. And he sits down at his desk, and then he pulls out like a little bottle of some kind of brandy or something, pours a few glasses out, and he says, "Okay, let's talk business. You need a sponsor."
We do.
You
And,
know, I don't mean to put it in delicately, but are you guys any good?
Out comes the videotape.
there you go.
And
Play the
Blockbuster Video.
Jensen makes a great shot.
You're a crack shot. Wow. Is what, 7 of you entering?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I will talk through the group again, much like I did with the bounty hunter previously, and try my best to be charming and talk everyone's ability up as much as possible without being deceptive.
Ishvar just smiles, raises both glasses.
And again, I will say, Ishwar's a Wookiee, and I put
Wait.
it behind me.
Wait, Ishvar is smiling? Is that a coercion check?
Intimidate.
He's raising both of his drinks. Double dip.
Well, you got a Wookiee. That's pretty good. I would enter too if I had a Wookiee. How much is it gonna cost me?
Is it 50,000?
Yeah.
For
50.
the sponsor? Yeah. 50,000 is the number I was told, but I don't know if there's any sort of discount for local businesses that they might have had arranged with the Hutts.
And
awesome.
Someone who does not know how.
Jensen, make a vigilance check, please. An average vigilance check.
You have to judge his jaw dropping.
That's our like. We support small business. They're little
Okay,
sins.
Jensen, you rolled a success and advantage. You see when you say that, and especially when you say the Hutts, you could see him kind of visibly shift uncomfortably in his chair. And then he kind of like straightens out and he says, all right, what's in it for me if we win?
Well, we'll come hang out here every time we win an event, and we'll drink at your bar, and we'll get other people to spend a lot of money here. You can advertise us on the front of the building if you want.
Okay, so lifetime advertisement rights with your likeness, right?
I look at Tyrus. This is not Jensen's thing.
Whose lifetime are we discussing?
Ishwar's more confused that you would put your face on something for a
didn't-
lifetime ago.
She's not thinking this through, and I just got blown up, I would mention. And Victor's been kidnapped, and I don't even know why we're talking to this guy, honestly, other than corporate sponsors.
All right, I'll tell you what I'll pitch. Lifetime advertisements rights with your likeness, if it's worth anything in the end. 20% of the prize pool. And any royalties off future advertising.
I'm going to
How
pull
about-
Jensa aside for a moment and remind her that Gilith is apparently nearby. Perhaps it would be premature to accept an offer from someone who's going to basically plasting your image everywhere.
Yeah, I don't like this at all.
Not
and
a good
Victor's
fit.
probably. You did hear me say that Victor was probably kidnapped, right? Like, why did you go talk to this guy? Is he important? I say I'm looking confused.
He sees he's kind of losing you for a second, and he says, listen, it is not easy here running a business that isn't completely dominated by the Hutts. I need this. I'd like to buy myself out of their influence.
How about this then?
And have a legitimate enterprise is what I would like. Hard to do in these parts.
Let's say, what's the prize pool? Does anybody know? Out of character?
You didn't
Was it listed?
ask specifically yet, but you're not sure.
Can I have picked it up somewhere?
Why don't we ask our
Wait,
our
wait.
friend?
How about-
He would probably know what the prize pool is.
Do you know what the prize pool is? I ask him.
I would need to check. I hadn't thought to really look at it.
Let's softball 20% of the prize pool. I don't want my face plastered everywhere, but we will drink here.
Can I put the Wookiee's
Wow.
face on things?
I look at Ishwar.
He's going to rip your face off.
Yeah, he's.
You have to
shakes his
understand,
head.
part of this competition, these are like rock stars, okay? You're going to be like the face, you know? You win this thing, everybody's going to know who you are.
You see the droid closing into the shadows.
You're
Tyrus is-
gonna give that up?
Honestly, like,
Tyrus' spine is growing longer as he realizes this is the opposite direction of where we need to be headed.
yeah, I know,
So
we want to
he
do Jedi, but we
curtails
haven't had a
the
chance to talk because you brought this over to this guy. So
No. So he curtails this particular avenue by saying, "We'll have your girl call my girl. It will be fine. We're heading to the casino now. But Miss Jensa could use a bit of a mani-pedi, facey, hairy sort
I say
of thing."
let us talk it over and let me figure out what the total prize cut is so we can negotiate. None of us in this room, him included, I gestured to this gentleman, so you included, is what the prize pool is exactly. We should figure that out before we talk any further. And we'll be back later tonight if it to discuss details, one more or the other. I say, and I shake his hand.
Which one?
Yeah.
Whatever hand.
By the way, if you're looking for new clothes, I'll write down a place you can go.
Thank you. I
Listen,
say.
even if you don't need the sponsorship, we could do some business together. There's things I could use some help with.
All right. Thanks.
So on that note, we decide
Let's huddle up, I say.
it's time to move past. Yes.
Yeah, let's huddle up at the table. So we'll go back to the table. Everybody's sitting here. Byer's there. Kip's there. Everybody's there, right?
Yeah, everybody's there. You go back out into the main part of the bar, and you're sitting at a table.
L3 will ask for his communication code so we can get back in contact with him if we decide anything.
Kip says, if they need a likeness, why don't we just give them a likeness? It doesn't have to be us. It just can be an amalgam. It can be a fake likeness.
Or it could be like pictures of us from behind. But here's the thing. We know what we want to do ultimately, but Victor's probably kidnapped.
Why are we
He's not-
drinking if he's kidnapped?
That's what I'm saying. I'm confused.
Clearly,
Why
Jensa,
do
you
you think he's
don't
kidnapped?
understand how HUD space works. We have to find the power brokers. We have to find the people who are actually running this moon. Hence, my
We're not gonna
begrudging trip up the mountain to the casino.
We're not going to talk to those people. We have no business talking to those people. We're here to get the droid. We're here to get the droid. And he threw 2 grenades at us. Look at me, look at Kip. I'm bleeding. Can we go back to the ship so
I
can
also
look
have
at my
carbon
wounds?
sword.
I'm perfectly
Vito's
fine.
hurt.
Are
Look
we
at his
so
wires.
naive? Are we so naive to think that anything on this planetoid happens without the knowledge and consent of the Hutts? They're merely the merchants. They don't care who is running the game. They own the game.
Okay.
We must find out who is in charge of this action.
The cartel is multiple gangs are running different things, and this city is a freaking mobster haven. It's just a bunch of criminals, bunch of criminalized organizations.
By the way, you don't all have to go to the
contact.
You don't all have to go to the same place. You guys can split up if some.
I'm just saying, Victor's been kidnapped. We should probably address that. And if we don't want to be in this contest, we have very limited time to make up our minds. This is
in all fairness, how does Jensa come to the conclusion that he's been kidnapped?
Yeah.
What Kip is thinking.
He's not answering my thing, and the droid's using his face, and Jensa's paranoid. That is how Jensa came to that conclusion.
Yeah, Kip said
He
that
didn't text
does
her
not
back.
compute.
He's been kidnapped. He's dead in
No.
a ditch. I don't know.
That
My ship
actually-
is on fire. I don't know.
With what little I know of Master Victor, him not answering your text actually comports with his past behavior. Us thinking that he is kidnapped is how do they say it? Jumping to conclusions.
Well, I'm gonna give it some meditative thought.
Where are you at?
I am
Boo?
worried about him. This
You
is
should
gonna
foresee-
get. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do when we get back to the ship. I need Bioware to come with me so I can lick my wounds. And we're dressing up and going to a casino.
Jensa, I turn to Jensa and remind her of our conversation of earlier. We have all come from difficult past where trust was impossible. Right now, to present a unified presence is crucial. We're on a planet controlled by the Hutts. Our only hope is to walk into that room, own that room, and discover who is actually in charge.
Well, I'm just clearing this up with everybody to make sure we're all on the same page and everybody's in agreement. If we do this, this is probably going to draw us attention, but I believe the idea was that we form a mercenary group to cover up our Ripcord ambitions. And if you don't remember out of character what plan Ripcord is, that was the plan to smuggle Jedi into safe space. And so basically using the mercenary group as a cover for smuggling Jedi is basically what Jensa's saying. We're all on board, right? I'm just making sure everybody in the group hears me and everybody's on the same page.
But at the same time, we're on a planet where Victor is missing or presumed a terrorist because someone has manipulated his image.
Yeah.
We are dropped into this space.
He had his own stuff.
But clearly, someone is using his image to
And we shouldn't
report
be
us
alone.
all as potential terrorists.
I don't think anybody should be anywhere alone. This thing took 2 shots at us. I say as I again motion to my blown up jacket. But we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Bioware, you in?
Yeah, I could take care of your wounds. That's not a problem. But I do
mean,
need to see someone in the casino.
Well, no, I'm okay with us all going to see you. I'm just making sure we're all in on the bounty hunting segue.
Oh, yeah.
Plan Ripcord.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
We're
also
all okay with this.
somewhat out of character, Tyrus knows that somehow the wheels that have been set in motion, the things we can't see beyond, he's known of this casino. He's perhaps known people at this casino, and we realize this is our next step.
I'm just saying that I don't think we can unring the spell, and I'm okay with being known as a mercenary.
They're not mutually exclusive on this planet. That's expected.
No, yeah. I mean, I think I'm okay with this. For what we're trying to do.
Tyrus
Because
is
this
already
gives us a
picking
great
out
cover.
robes and jewelry, so...
All right, I'm
So
going
are we
for a second,
magnificent.
and I'm going to go with Bior to get healed, but I don't think anybody should be alone. Do we all want to go to the ship for a minute so Kip and Leto and I can get taken care of, and then we can all go out and go shopping?
Is that like a bathroom break?
She just kind of stares at you slack-jawed because she's literally bleeding.
Can't you stop bleeding in a cloakroom somewhere? We have places to be.
How many drinks did you
So
You
you're
would
gonna
also
you're gonna
be checking on Victor.
okay. So you're gonna run
Yes.
back to the ship first, and then you'll have time to shop and such before you do whatever you're gonna do at the casino. And you guys can attend to your shopping list after too. You know, I'll assume that after you visit the ship to check on Victor, you can conduct the shopping that you want to do and still have time. It's late afternoon, so the casino's not going to be busy till nighttime, so you'll have a few hours.
So, while Bior's tending my wounds, and I guess he has to roll for that, what I want to do is I want to foresee Victor. Just want to get a sense for him.
Okay, so are you talking about seek or foresee?
Possibly both? Whatever's gonna get me the best. Is he alive and okay? That's all I need to know. Is Victor alive and okay?
Well,
wherever
I
he
mean,
is?
foresee allows you to use the force to look into the future to see something
Yeah, yeah.
specific that you're looking for. And seek allows you to get a general location or direction of a familiar person or object.
Oh, Victor's familiar, so I will seek him with the force.
Okay, so I would like you to please make a force check using your force rating. Are you doing this in the middle of the bar?
No, this is while Bior is tending my.
And where is Bio
Do we go
attending
back
to
to
your
the
wounds?
ship?
No, we're back
On
in
the
the
ship.
ship.
Okay, all right. So you are back in the ship. Okay, so you first of all, when you head back onto the ship, the second you walk in up the gangplank, you can see that there was a tussle inside of your ship, and the gangplank has been opened. So your ship is literally just open to passersby. You could see a chair knocked over in the central area, the lounge, and some things strewn about as if the room was kind of turned over. They were looking for something. And you see the terminal on the computer station.
Mike, I had a lock on this thing, didn't I?
Yes, you did, actually.
Did.
You can see the last thing. You could see like a streak of blood across the keyboard. And the last thing on the screen was a file marked Project Greywave, and it says enter authorization code. And like one or two keys had been entered, but it was not completed, so the password was not entered fully, and then something transpired.
What the fuck?
What's going on?
Now, knowing
wonder-
this, you can do your force check if you'd like for the Seek ability.
I'm not going for it.
Okay. Well, actually, you can't because we're out of destiny points at the moment. But so as try as you might, actually, you just can't quite muster up. All you can pick up is anxiety and fear, and you remember back to what the Holocron talked to you about just earlier this very day.
Yeah,
about
that's why I said
pausing
I'm not-
yourself when that happens. And that's exactly what you do is you take a breath and you calm your mind for a moment.
Yeah, so Jensa's like eyes roll back in her head, like as she sees the blood in the console, she just reaches out and touches the console as her eyes start to roll back in their head and they flicker and her face twitches a little, and then she just looks at Ishwar and Tyrus and Gang and just shakes her head. I can't right now, I don't have a clear mind. And I'm just gonna walk to wherever Bior is and says, please, help. I'm gonna pull my what's left of my jacket off and just throw it in the trash at this point and sit down. And Ishwar can look at the computer, Leto can, whoever. Somebody tell me what's on the screen. Jen says rattle. Obviously.
Ishwar.
Too much in one morning. Way too much in one morning.
It's been a rough day for Jensa.
Yesterday we were in a star fight with the freaking Empire. It needs to stop. I need a break.
She just doesn't have a slow day.
She's gonna take up chain smoking. It's like every day.
You can always take up death sticks. They're around. I'm sure you can get them here.
Can L3 make a tactical analysis of the room to see like what could have happened, like CSI?
Yeah,
Like
you could. That would
warfare?
be. You could either do knowledge. I'll give you knowledge education or knowledge warfare.
I probably do warfare. Ken, did you want to do it?
I can do warfare, but you're better at it than I am.
I only have 2 ranks.
I only have 1.
Please heal me.
Okay, yeah.
I would be investigating the computer to see what was pulled up.
You said average, hard,
Average.
and I'll add my boost dice that you so nicely given me before.
Okay.
Ira, could you heal me?
Okay.
I'm waiting
So
for-
okay, you actually like you go and you start projecting all these like holographic like sort of possibilities of what could have happened, like figures moving and everything, and you spend like a good 5 minutes on this, and everybody's like watching like all excited, kind of like what is he gonna find, and then it all just kind of flicks
you look
off,
really cool.
and then you look and kind of shrug your shoulders, not sure what happened.
Yay! Medicine.
Byra, do you have a force rating of 4? Oh, no. You have, okay, you rolled 2. Oh, wow, you rolled, okay, so you got 2. So, what is that? 6? What, how does that? You got 2.
I think it's 2 per rank. Hold up.
No, we went through this, though. There's a rule about it. Okay, wait. Okay, so you heal wounds equal to your intellect, and you cannot activate it more than once, but you can spend the other point in magnitude to affect additional target per rank. Oh, okay.
Hips hurt too.
You need to get the strength upgrade at some point.
I know. So, yeah, that would be 6.
It would actually be 3.
I'm still pretty.
Yeah, you can't increase the amount of the heal except by increasing your intellect or taking the strength upgrade. So it says you can only activate it once. So this is what we looked up before. So you
Yeah, it is.
yeah, when you get the strength upgrade, you can increase the amount. So you can heal 3, or you can heal. Is there anyone else damaged? Because he can heal 2 of you for 3.
Yep.
Kip is not damaged.
You
Oh,
shielded.
and it doesn't work on L3. Okay, so it's really just for Jensa. So Jensa, you heal 3 wounds. And
Do we have
then
a stem pack? I ask.
I think this is a good place for us to end. We ran a little longer than usual. And that concludes our episode for tonight. Join us next time where the party tries to figure out what became of Victor and where he was taken. Be looking for our next episode in about 2 weeks. Have a great evening.